the goalkeeper. Back three, we reckon today. Ross McCrory, former Rangers player, never popular with the Celtic fans, alongside Anthony Stewart and Jack McKenzie, who we think will play on the left of the back three. He's in for Scales, who's ineligible against his parent club. The two wing-backs, Matty Kennedy and Hayden Coulson, on loan from Middlesbrough. Three in the midfield, Conor Barron, Yiba Ramadani and Leighton Clarkson, on loan from Liverpool, with top scorer Bowen Miopski alongside Duke, Lupe's Duke, the Cape Verde international, up front. He's got 8 goals this season already. The Celtic team, Joe Hart has started every league game this season. He plays behind a back four of Anthony Ralston, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Carl Starfelt, whose season has been very much hampered by injury, and Celtic fans will be glad to see him back. Greg Taylor at left back makes his 100th appearance for the club. In midfield, the return of Callum McGregor, who'll feel a bit like a new signing in the circumstances, with Matt O'Reilly and Rio Hatate, and then up front a three of Dazen Maeda on the right, Jota on the left, and Kyoko Furuhashi leading the line up front. Jota, who's got a wonderful record against Aberdeen. He has scored against them in every game he has played. 5 goals against Aberdeen in his 4 matches against them in the past. I mentioned that there is sun. The stand on the far side is shading the pitch for most of that. There's a small little sliver of daylight coming through and illuminating Kelly Roos, the Aberdeen goalkeeper, wearing blue, away to our right hand side. The referee, Stephen McLean, about to get underway, and he's been involved in some good games lately as we kick off. Last 4 games Steve McLean has been the referee of, 24 goals across the 4 matches. So let's hope he doesn't let us down today. Immediately, whistle blows for a free kick to Celtic inside their own half. These two have got a long rivalry. They have met in 11 major finals over the years, but Aberdeen's record in recent times against Celtic is absolutely dreadful, as Roddy alluded to earlier on. Here is McGregor on the halfway line, rolls it back to the Swede Carl Starfelt. To the left hand side, Greg Taylor. And Celtic very efficient as they move into the Aberdeen half. Aberdeen starting the game playing fairly deep here, as down the left hand side comes Hatate, twists and wriggles and finds a little bit of room, and a nice pass from McGregor here to Ralston. Might have had an option of a shot, but he's played it onto the right hand side to Maeda. He tries to deliver it to the penalty area, and Aberdeen are able to clear it away. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, lively start to the game. You often get that in freezing cold days. Players go at a real pace, and it's a lot to do with getting themselves warm as well. The Celtic always start at a high tempo. That's their game plan. They want to keep that up as long as they possibly can. It doesn't always last in 90 minutes, but more often than not, the game's won by then. We'll see if Aberdeen can hold out.
Yeah, you know it's cold when Pat is wrapped up, and then Roddy's brought his electric heater, and there is a chill in these sub-zero temperatures at Pittodrie, but the pitch looks absolutely fine, to be fair. You said to me before the game, Pat, traditionally over the years this has often had a bobble, this pitch, but given the bad weather, it's in decent nick today.
Yeah. A limited amount of games, let's be fair. Recently.
Very good point.
But yeah, absolutely the case. It is something that used to be bobbly and hard to play on. Right now, it looks perfect out there.
Right, I believe it's all over for the day of the cricket. Let's go to Stefan Shaddolt.
England close 7-1, Connor. They bowled Pakistan out for 304, 2 wickets for 18-year-old Rayan Ahmed, 4 for Jack Leach. But their challenge on a turning pitch was highlighted by Zach Crawley being LBW to Abrar Ahmed in the 5th ball of their reply. Ben Duckett also survived a review from the very last ball of the day. England 7-1 after bowling Pakistan out for 304.
Thanks, Stefan. 0-0 at Pittodrie. Celtic have played a corner short. McGregor tried to then turn on the edge of the penalty area, and he's been challenged by Duke, and Celtic do hold on to possession, and it could be a day that Aberdeen have to absorb quite a lot today, as Hatate from midfield rolls it up to his fellow Japanese player Maeda. He tried a little flick off of the outside of the right boot that doesn't work, but Aberdeen clear it away. Now, immediately from the get-go, when Aberdeen do win the ball, Pat, they're struggling to hold on to it. They cleared their lines, but they return possession to Celtic straight away. This time they boot it out, and it goes from Conor Barron out for a throw. But how are Aberdeen going to hold on to the ball today?
That's going to be the major point. You've watched that game between Rangers and Hibs couldn't hold on to the ball in that second half, could they? Because Rangers pressed them really high, and that's exactly what Celtic do. Ange Postecoglou has done that since the day he came in. He asks a huge amount of these players. He wants them all to be fit. He wants them not to be taking rests. And if you're an Aberdeen player, it's hard. Maybe they'll have to go a little bit longer. They've got 2 good strikers up there. Go a little bit longer and then push up behind. That might give them a little bit of respite. But so far, hardly been out there on a half.
Yeah, Aberdeen, who finished last season very poorly, They only had 2 wins in their final 18 league games of the campaign, but they're third in the table this time round. And a win today would move them up to 28 points. They would be 8 points behind Rangers in second place. But after 15 games last season, Aberdeen had 15 points. This time round, they are 10 points better off. It's Kelly Roos, the Dutch goalkeeper who started every game in every competition this season, plays it up over the halfway line. Same problem though for Aberdeen, they can't make it stick, and a chance for Kyogo to come on the counter-attack, and he rolls the ball towards the edge of the Aberdeen penalty area. Getting back there first was Ross McCrory. He helps it to the goalkeeper Kelly Roos, and his clearance returns possession to Hatate, and for Celtic in the midfield, midway inside Aberdeen territory. Left hand side of the pitch as Celtic come forward. Good ball to Ralston, who taken up a position on the edge of the D. Strong challenge came in from Hayden Coulson, and a chance now for Aberdeen to break with Leighton Clarkson, who's got good pace over the halfway line, supported by Duke. This is as far up the pitch as Aberdeen have been in the game so far. Duke goes into the penalty area, but he's held up by Cameron Carter-Vickers, who, like a bouncer on the door of a pub, said, "You are not coming in," and he forces him away towards the corner flag, and the ball goes out of play.
You're not giving anything away about his physique there, are you? He is a big, strong-looking lad, isn't he? He could do that job with his eyes shut, but he was too clever as well there. And Duke gets the ball. I mean, he's got, you know, the last third of the pitch to run into there, but it never looked to me as if he was going to pass Carter-Vickers. He would just slam that door shut.
This is 5 Live and BBC Sounds, the Scottish Premiership. First Saturday top flight action we've had in quite some time in the UK, as throw-in is taken from the left-hand side by Coulson. Aberdeen clear it away with Cameron Carter-Vickers, who was at Tottenham for an awful long time and never made a first-team appearance in the league for Spurs. I think he played in 3 cup matches, but it was almost always out on loan. But he seems to have found a good home for himself here at Celtic, having joined on a permanent basis at the start of the season. Celtic bring it out from deep again. Carl Starfelt over the halfway line. Aberdeen get their red shirts back, a layoff by Kyogo, and then it was almost became a 1-2 off Hatate, but a good interception, and Anthony Stewart holds it up on the edge of the penalty area for Aberdeen, and then that's a lean in and a foul committed, and that's going to be a free kick to Aberdeen just outside their penalty area.
It's very smooth watching Celtic, isn't it? You know, they hold the ball well, they pass it very sharply and neatly. When they lose it, they're right on top of the opposition, but there's a real comfort about them. And it's interesting to see the 3 Japanese playing together. They don't always play together, but they have got an extremely good understanding, all 3 of them. Kyogo hasn't really got into the game much, but Hatate and Maeda, they move about brilliantly well together.
Yeah, speaking of players playing together, Cameron Vickers, Starvelt and McGregor all in the starting 11, and it's only the 3rd time this season that those 3 have started for Celtic in the league. They tend to do well when those 3 are in the team. Duke on the left hand side, crossing position for Aberdeen, playing from right to left as we look down, all in red. Can't get it into the penalty area, so it comes back to Ramadani, the Albanian international, and in order to hold on to possession here, Aberdeen are going to have to retreat back inside their own half. Anthony Stewart under pressure from Kyogo Furuhashi, but he gets it away, and a good delivery away too to Hayden Coulson on the left hand side, on loan from Middlesbrough. Lovely run to weave in field, and then was he stuck in a few minds there. He did great to get into the position, and then a curious just spooned loop of a ball into the arms of Joe Hart to the end of it. What was he trying to do, do you think?
Well, he was caught in 2 minds. He wanted the little skip over the defender, but he tried too hard and ended up lobbing it far too 3 times high as it needed to be. But his first movement there was exceptional.
Yes, very good. And evidence there that playing with 3 at the back, Aberdeen will be able to use Coulson in an attacking sense down the left-hand side. 0-0 at Pittodrie in the opening 10 minutes here. As Cameron Carter-Vickers rolls it to Anthony Ralston on the right-hand side. Ralston's 9th appearance in the league this campaign. Callum McGregor gets it, who scored against Aberdeen in each of the last 2 seasons. Up to the left-hand side to Hatate, back into the centre again. Matt O'Reilly gets a touch, and Celtic very comfortable in possession as Cameron Carter-Vickers floats it over towards the left wing, where it's well cut out by Matty Kennedy, and Aberdeen's problem of clearing it away but giving it straight back to Celtic resumes again.
Yeah, you get plenty of ball there, and they want to get Jota on the ball there. He's in the far left-hand side at the moment. He's getting slowly but surely more into the game. He needs to run with the ball at his feet.
McGregor just well to regain possession. Played out by O'Reilly. Back into the middle. once again, and then too intricate from Celtic as the low ball squirts through the penalty area and goes out for a goal kick. 0-0.
Well, it has to be intricate because, as you say, it's a back three, but it's a back five when they lose the ball, so they're right back in there. 3 midfielders dead in front of them, so you've got that 8-man back line there. I mean, now and again they'll even get Duke coming back to cover a little bit as well, so they're working very hard, Aberdeen. You know, they've really got them well organised under Jim Goodwin here, but they need to get out a little bit more often than they have so far. But yeah, they'll be fairly pleased, Jim Goodwin, I think, just now. No clear-cut chances given up yet.
A reminder, you can listen to the World Cup final tomorrow. It's a 3 o'clock kick-off on 5 Live, also available on BBC television, and if you go to the iPlayer, you can have the best of both worlds. You can watch the pictures and enjoy the 5 Live commentary, all perfectly in sync. Hayden Coulson here with a cushioned header sends the ball back to Kelly Roos, former Derby County goalkeeper. He's been another who's been out on loan at several clubs over the last 6 or 7 years. Joined Aberdeen in June, and he's had 8 clean sheets so far in all competitions this season, as he plays it with plenty of backspin, high up over the halfway line, and slams off the forehead of Cameron Carter-Vickers, who comfortably beat Duke in the air. This is Anthony Stewart under pressure from Kyogo. Kyogo's turned him inside out of one possession, but he can't pick the pass into Matt O'Reilly, and it's cleared away by Jack McKenzie for Aberdeen. Just a great illustration there of the alertness and the speed of Kyogo Furuhashi there, the way he won the possession off Anthony Stewart, and Stewart was grateful in the end that he was a good distance outside the penalty area. Hatate tries a shot on the full volley, and it goes into the Aberdeen fans behind the goal to our right. Pat Evan.
Yeah, he was very unlucky there. Kyogo had no right to win that ball back there, and he got it back. I don't actually think that Stewart was falling asleep. He just think it was very, very, very lively. Got the ball back, and unlucky because the ball they played through was just between O'Reilly and Jota. Had it reached either of them, definitely a chance on for Celtic. So once again, Celtic not playing too bad. I'm looking at Ange Postecoglou down in front of us there. He looks very calm just now. He's comfortable with the way his team are playing. I think they're following orders.
Yeah, when they lost to St Mirren in September, since then Postecoglou's team have won all 8 Scottish Premiership games, and this is their joint longest run under Ange Postecoglou. If they win today, it will go 9 league wins in a row, which will be the first time that he'd have done that in his tenure. Celtic who beat Aberdeen 2-0 the last time these sides met. That was in Glasgow in July. Stephen Welch scored, Jota 2. Last season Celtic won all 3 games against Aberdeen. You go back, they're looking for a 19th win in a row, Celtic over Aberdeen today, which is remarkable. Here they come down the right hand side. Celtic away from home at Pittodrie here this Saturday lunchtime on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. McGregor's ball into the edge of the penalty area. Maida tried to take it down on his chest with his back to goal, but he didn't have any room to manoeuvre. Matt O'Reilly gets it down on the deck. Clever ball to Ralston near the byline, cuts in, tries to shoot left footed, comes up for O'Reilly again, who hits it on the half volley but skews it over the crossbar. More Celtic pressure, but still not an attempt on target. 0-0.
No attempts on target, but getting into really good positions. They're camping around that 18-yard box, aren't they? And they're getting towards the bylines. Just a little bit too easy for Aberdeen's liking, I'm sure, because if you get to that byline often enough, eventually, whether it's a good ball in, whether it's a ricochet, eventually it will lead to an opportunity. So somehow they need to push the play a little bit further up the field, Aberdeen, if they're going to get back into this, the actual game. Well, they're not down or anything, but they need to get more involved in the game and get some possession.
And a reminder, the World Cup does come to its conclusion tomorrow, but the live football continues all week on 5 Live, and the EFL Cup is back on Tuesday. There's games Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, big teams involved as well. We've got Manchester United against Burnley on Wednesday from Old Trafford, and on Thursday a very big one, Manchester City against Liverpool. No easing back into things as those two go head to head at the Etihad. Again, you can listen to that game live here on 5 Live in the Carabao Cup 4th round. Premier League returns on Boxing Day. We'll be all over that too on 5 Live. Chance for Hatate, edge of the D, and he just cut it too much of a slice off the inside of his boot, well wide in the end. Not a clean connection on the shot from Rio Hatate, who has scored 2 goals this season. Yeah,
but he's getting into the box, and the way Celtic play, which is basically a 4-3-3. I mean, McGregor sits at the base of the midfield, but both of the wide players will get forward, and be it O'Reilly or Hatate who can switch with each other on the other side, or Maeda as well flying forward. They've really basically got 5 attack-minded players on the pitch at any point in time, and then you add the fullbacks when they overlap as well. They're a very attack-minded side, Celtic.
Yeah, the goals come from everywhere for Celtic. They've had 14 different goal scorers in the league this season. That's 4 more than any other team. 50 goals scored from Celtic. which is a hell of a lot when you consider they've only played 15 games. Here's Maida on the right-hand side, plays a 1-2 with Matt O'Reilly. Ada with a shaven head, turns and rolls it back to the halfway line to the bearded Cameron Carter-Vickers. Played in the win over Iran for the USA. Helped on here nicely by Greg Taylor on the edge of the penalty area to Jutta on the left. He's got a few tricks, tries to weave in across, but doesn't get any elevation on it. Can't pick out Kyoko Furuhashi, and Aberdeen are able to clear the ball away.
Well, don't ask me about that USA Iran game. I was actually at that game. It was one of about 20.
One of the blur.
It was actually, that was a very incredible, that was a phenomenal game and a great atmosphere.
The group stages, we had 4 games a day, does seem a long time ago now. Here's Jutta into a shooting position, hits it well off the right boot, and it's punched away by Kelly Roos, who didn't fancy holding on to that. Best shot of the game so far as Duke performs a tackle on Ralston and puts the ball out of play, but he just had an opportunity there. He didn't hit it badly. Good save by the goalkeeper.
Well, as mentioned that about Jota before, he's been neat and tidy on the ball, but that's not what he's about. He's about taking round players and having a go, and he did that.
Taylor, central position just outside the Aberdeen penalty area. Jotta's got a trick, good acceleration, but having built up the speed of run, he then put too much speed on the delivery and it sailed over everyone in the middle and goes out for a goal kick. 0-0.
Look at Jota over there. It seems as if he's just warming up now. He's been kind of involved in the game, but he's just slowly but surely building himself into it. He goes past footballers, our defenders in Scotland, with such ease. It's almost treating him with disdain when he goes past them. On that occasion there, he went down the left. Sometimes he comes in, goes right, and that's one of the great difficulties about those wide kind of wingers that can go either side comfortably. The defenders hate it.
Plenty Rugby Union on Sports Extra today. Exeter Chiefs against the Vodacom Bulls, Leicester Tigers against Clermont Auvergne, and Ulster against La Rochelle. You can keep across those games on Sports Extra from BBC Radio 5 Live. Here comes Celtic. Kyogo out to the left wing to Jota, whose influence of the game is growing all the time. Taylor goes on an overlapping run, gives it back to Jota, 10 yards outside the penalty area. Short to Hitate, who chips it over here to the near touchline, and there's no Celtic player there. Ralston had crept infield, so cheers from the Aberdeen fans as it goes out for a throw-in, and a throw-in to Aberdeen. Left-sided defence for them, and across jogs Jack McKenzie to take. He's the one change in the Aberdeen team today, in for Liam Scales, who's ineligible against Celtic as he is on loan from Celtic Park.
Yeah, they've kept the system exactly the same, haven't they? The 3-5-2 or the 5-3-2, however you look at it. But really so far I think it's been a bit of a disappointment for Aberdeen as it goes on. I thought, well, wait a minute, at some point you need to get your foot in the ball. They've been so massively outplayed in that midfield area. Now, understandably, it's when Celtic are the top quality side. I'd started to be given a little bit more by now.
Aberdeen coach Jim Goodwin played for Celtic in the past. He only made one senior appearance right at the very start of his career before moving on. Took over from Stephen Glass here at Pittodrie. Aberdeen holding their nerve here to play through the Celtic high press, and the ball is launched by Ramadani down the left wing. Duke unable to control it, and it was a difficult technique there to try and take it in his stride with the outside of his boot, and he was well shut down by Anthony Ralston. And Aberdeen's attempt of a counter-attack comes to nothing. Celtic attack down the other end. Coulson stretches inside the penalty area, wins the ball but can't hold on to it. Hitate, who's seen a lot of the ball in the early stages, infield to McGregor. Now chance to turn. O'Reilly has a sight of goal, keeps it short though. Hitate, right hand side, just outside the penalty area, central to McGregor once again. Now Jota, little backwards flick, doesn't quite roll into the path of McGregor, but they keep it alive. And now McGregor's cross from the left-hand side, too high for Maida, headed away by Coulson. Aberdeen looking to clear their lines here now with Duke taking on Ralston, and a big roar for the crowd as he burns his way around him. Now gallops into the Celtic half. Cameron Carter-Vickers, the latest to stand in front of him. Good wriggle and jiggle by Duke, and down he goes. And the referee says he was fouled by the American. And that's livened things up at Pittodrie. A surging run by Luis Lopez Duke, and he wins a free kick in a shooting position.
Probably the third time he's tried to go in one of those runs. The first time he ran into Cameron Vickers and didn't seem to know what to do. This time he thought, no, I'm going to go at you again. I'm going to throw in a few dummies and a few tricks. Cameron Vickers looked a wee bit uncertain about that, didn't he? The referee's given a free kick. Cameron Vickers didn't think there was any touch whatsoever, but it really has lifted them. The problem you've got if you're Aberdeen is he's run 60 yards to get to that position in danger, so he was running out of legs. However, Free kick, incredibly dangerous position, almost exactly where you would want it if you were a specialist from there.
I want to come back and ask you a question about that Duke run, so if I forget, remind me, Pat, but let's concentrate on the free kick that's resulted from now. Aberdeen playing right to left as we look down. Joe Hart, who don't even think has touched the ball in the game, wearing all yellow, away to the left. Just leans forward, hands on his knees. I wonder what Joe Hart thinks sitting at home watching the World Cup.
I thought that today as well.
He's only 35, which is a baby in goalkeeping terms, and he's been at those big tournaments, and how he's fallen from that picture. Anyway, here's Clarkson's free kick, and it sails over the top, and Joe Hart doesn't have to make the save. The question I wanted to ask you about Duke, so did Cameron Carter-Vickers actually do well there? Because for a man who was well known for a little drop of a shoulder yourself, it seemed like Duke was trying, and he just couldn't actually get around it.
He was tempting him into making a tackle. He was saying, make a tackle, make a tackle, make a tackle, and Carter-Vickers wouldn't make a tackle. I'll be honest with you, I don't think it was a foul. I just thought Carter-Vickers just stood his ground as if to say, you've run 60 yards, you'll do well to run past me now. And I think fortunately they get a free kick there, but it was good play by Duke to get there in the first place.
Yeah, we mentioned his burly frame. I think that might work against him sometimes. I mean, when he stands his ground and someone runs into it, it looks like he's fouled him because he's so strong. Chance for Celtic. Greg Taylor drills in 2 shots, both of them are blocked away, and the ball ricochets out for a throw into Celtic. Level with the edge of the penalty area, they attack, taken by Ralston. Matt O'Reilly has it, corner angle the area on the right hand side, sends in a low cross that's tame, and Anthony Stewart is able to clear it away. Player who's been at Wickham and Crewe in the past and joined Aberdeen in the summer and has taken over as captain. Here comes Matt O'Reilly again, short ball to Ralston. Both fullbacks creeping into midfield roles a la Joe Cancelo for Celtic regularly in this game. Greg Taylor and Ralston getting into central locations. Now Ralston's out wide, sends in a decent cross, but he just can't get it in front of a teammate. Shot on target, cleverly saved by the boot of Kelly Roos. He saved it with his arm first, and it would have fallen into the path of Furuhashi, but then he kicked out his boot, and the goalkeeper was able to get it away. Close for Celtic, but still 0-0.
Yeah, I think it was Hattie had the shot, wasn't it? Very low down there, gets well done, referee's a goalkeeper. He's a very tall goalkeeper, but he gets down very, very quickly. But this is the problem for Aberdeen. Celtic are getting easy possession, 18 to 25 yards out, time and time again. They will get shots away, not if, it's when, and there's going to be plenty of them. So the goalkeeper's going to have to be in top form today, because if you play that deep, eventually you will give away chances.
Celtic, we mentioned, have scored 50 league goals this season. It's their best haul since the mid to late 1960s and Jock Stein's time in charge. So, it really have been in the goals this season. But so far, Aberdeen holding firm. Celtic hoping to restore their 9-point lead at the top. Aberdeen hoping to get within 8 points of Rangers if they can win, remaining in third. Aberdeen on the attack down the left-hand side, but possession goes out of play. Throw into Celtic, which is back to Joe Hart.
Do you know, Colin, there's a very interesting thing that happening with Celtic just now. When they attack, they leave 2 defenders back, but Aberdeen get 2 strikers. They don't ask for anyone else to come back. They just say, no, we'll just take that.
Yes, it's a good point. You wonder if they could launch a counter-attack. It could be worth their while. The 2 staying up top, Duke and Miovski, who's hardly been in the game at all so far. They've got to find a way to work him into it. McGregor, midway inside the Aberdeen half, tries to play that looped ball out towards Jota once again, and once again it's cut out by Matty Kennedy. Now ball over the top for Miovski to run after, but Cameron Carter-Vickers gets there first. Good Cam defending, just nods it back to Joe Hart.
Do you think they were listening to us there? Just saying, like, when you go 2 on 2, all you need to do is leather it long and say, right, okay, it's a foot race, you're going to be able to beat us. Miovski in that situation there didn't actually look as if he's got the legs to get beyond Starfelt.
Yeah, it's not one of the more cultured comments I'll ever make, but I'm a big believer of lumping it forward in football. I really do. I think, so many times that's where the mistakes happen, that's when the goals come in. There's a little bit of a snobbery about it, but it works.
Well, the Dutch went for it, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now you're talking, exactly. Here's Jota, as centrally as we've seen him today. Now he veers into the penalty area right hand side, tries to clip in across, and second time in the game he's played a good ball, but too high for Dyson Maeda, and that goes out for a goal kick to Aberdeen.
Yeah, you understand why they would do that. I mean, the old-fashioned one-touch move. And it will work sometimes, especially if you're, man-to-man at the back. But it shows you how much belief Postecoglou has got in his two defenders there. Starfelt, he's got a little bit more pace maybe than Carter Vickers. But just saying to him, you're against two players. Mark your man. Do your job. Be capable of doing it. The problem with that is, if you're an Aberdeen player and you're a forward, you only need to win that once. You only need to get lucky once.
Exactly. No goals at Pittodrie. There's only been one scoreless draw between these clubs in any competition in the last 30 years. And there is the mood that Celtic have been knocking on the door and Aberdeen have been riding their luck, and it may only be a matter of time. Anthony Stewart back to Kelly Roos, press from Furuhashi. Aberdeen come through the middle of it. Ramadani's in trouble here, and he's been challenged, and the referee gives the free kick against Aberdeen. So he was put under pressure. It was excellent from Hatate to try and close him down, and Ramadani, afraid he was going to lose it, has been adjudged to have fouled the Celtic man, and it's a free kick 10 yards inside the penalty area.
Well, the Aberdeen fans are not impressed, and neither am I. I thought that was an Aberdeen free kick there. I think it was at Hatate. He almost just dived into his opponent there. I mean, you need to stand off a little bit. There was a coming together. I could not see anything there Aberdeen player did wrong there.
No, if anything, a free kick the other way, yeah. But that was the decision. The referee, Steve McLean. Cameron Carter-Vickers plays the ball into the feet of Callum McGregor, just back from injury. McGregor on the ball again in a little pocket of space inside the Aberdeen half, and he moves it on to the left-hand side through Taylor, onto Jota, back to Taylor again, still midway inside Aberdeen territory. They'll try it through the middle. McGregor to Ralston, all the way to the right-hand side, and there's a Nada now. He'll drop a shoulder and break into the penalty area, and his low cross is hooked away by Jack McKenzie for a Celtic corner, still 0-0.
One of the great things, if you're a away player playing for Celtic just now, be it Maeda, be it Jota the far side, you get lots of 1-on-1s because they add another man from the back. There isn't a spare man to double up in the wingers, and that really helps the Celtic wingers.
Here comes the corner, decent float in, came off the upper thigh of Duke, and Aberdeen managed to clear it away. Ralston from the halfway line hooks it back to goalkeeper Joe Hart away to our left-hand side. 75 caps for England for Joe Hart. He is England's joint second most capped goalkeeper. He and David Seaman both got 75, but they're both well behind Peter Shilton's 125. Here comes Celtic. Hatate, 5 yards outside the penalty area. Infield to Greg Taylor. Jota's made the run on the outside, but that was rather signposted what was going to happen there, and Matty Kennedy makes a routine interception. Tries to go long in front of Miovski, who's going to chase and pressure, and he does apply the pressure, but too much. Hand on the back of Cameron Carter-Vickers, who, as soon as he felt the pressure, was happy to go down, and he's got the free kick. But just for a moment, it looked like Miovski might have been in there.
Yeah, it looked a little bit like Cameron Vickers actually just didn't put enough in the pass back. So, the one-touch move that you were talking about before, or as you put it, lumping it long, yes. It's troubling Celtic a little bit. It's certainly asking them more questions doing that than any other move that Aberdeen have tried so far.
Here comes Celtic down the other end. Matt O'Reilly to Maeda. Back in field to McGregor. This is all 10 yards outside the box. Celtic teasing Aberdeen edge to edge, hoping that there'll be a little gap they can nip in and exploit, but the red shirts stand firm for the moment, and Ramadani clears it away. Duke can't control, and it goes out for a throw-in to Celtic on the halfway line. Part
of the problem that Celtic have got just now, and they know this can be a problem, playing the way they are, complete control of the ball, they need people coming from midfield. They've not got anyone tall in the centre forward position.
Kyoko's made a good run. That looked like a handball as he took it around the goalkeeper, and he shoots from a tight angle, but chested on the goal line by Anthony Stewart to clear away. It was a through ball. Goalkeeper came out, and Kyoko Furuhashi tried to go around him, but the angle too tight in the end.
Yeah, I think he got on his chest. I don't think Kyoko actually touched up his arm at all there. But again, the movement was very, very good, but you have to say, well done by Anthony Stewart. He gets back there and he doesn't panic. He just says, right, okay, you're going to have to do something special to beat me. Just takes it on his chest and plays it out. But once again, little gaps beginning to open at the back for Aberdeen there. Game's opening up.
First time really we've seen Kyoko Furuhashi with the ball at his feet in the penalty area. He's been well marshalled so far. This is Greg Taylor on the left-hand side. Good ball into Matt O'Reilly in the D. He's managed to wriggle through, helped by Hatate, but strong defending by Ross McCrory, and Aberdeen get it away.
but you can feel any one of those attacks could just about break through at any moment in time. The concentration levels needed by these Aberdeen defenders and the midfielders sitting in front of them has to be very, very special. So far, they've managed to stand up to it.
Celtic with Matt O'Reilly and Rio Hatate tried to just dribble the ball through the Aberdeen defence there. Here is O'Reilly once again, short sleeves and the gloves, gives it to Hatate. Just outside the D, has a look up, chooses his Japanese colleague Maeda, right edge of the penalty area. Oh, an uncertain touch took it away from him. He was looking up, he was thinking what to do. He'd one uncertain touch and then he never recaptured full possession of the ball in Aberdeen. A big roar from their fans as they clear it away.
Well, just a moment there at Celtic down the right hand side. Ralston decides to go not overlapping but underlapping, and it's something that Celtic work on quite a lot. Problem is you have to do that when there's a space, not when there's no space whatsoever, and he basically ran into traffic there, and that's what confused Hatate in the wide area here. And just a tiny wee bit of frustration coming from Celtic, trying a little bit too hard in those last final thirds.
There's two, and I was going to say seagulls, but then I know you'll correct me and give the correct name, but two birds come floating in and land inside the Aberdeen penalty area, making it now a back seven. As jumped by O'Reilly inside the centre circle. Ramadani tries to hook the ball forward, and there was a hesitation by Ralston. Duke goes down, he was looking for it. Referee was close to that and decided that Duke was simulating falling on the edge of the penalty area. Ralston was beside him, but it felt like he went down too easy. Celtic clear the ball away. What's your view, Pat?
I agree with that completely. I think he was looking for it 100%. We're a distance away from it here. But the referee was up close to it. And he's now given a free kick against Aberdeen, to which Aberdeen players are saying, wow, we should have got one a minute ago. Yeah, but this one was a foul. That's the difference. And it just down there on the left hand side where those two oyster catchers were.
Oyster catchers. I knew you'd know. They just floated in. They said, what's all the fuss and noise here? And then they've decided to swoop away once again. Celtic, by the way, pleased that Lewis Ferguson is no longer at Aberdeen, because before this season Ferguson had scored against Celtic in the previous 4 meetings in a row. Lewis Ferguson, who's now playing in Italy with Bologna, and I looked it up this morning, he's got 3 goals in his first 6 starts in Serie A. He's doing well. Here comes the Celtic free kick, played in by O'Reilly. Good jump by Cameron Carter-Vickers, but Anthony Stewart was policing him, and the referee has decided, was it that there was pushing? There's no flag, it must have been pushing, and he's given the free kick to Aberdeen. He
actually knew there was pushing beforehand. It was Carter-Vickers that had the push there, but he just waited a moment just to see if there was a break on for Aberdeen. He turned around and realised that wasn't a red shirt up there when the ball was cleared, so he gave them the free kick that they deserved.
So Kelly Roos prepares to take the free kick just inside the Aberdeen penalty area. Are there oysters to be caught around Aberdeen? Roddy might know.
I don't think that's all they eat.
As Carter-Vickers clears away, tight up against the touchline, the ball goes out of play before coming back in again.
By the way, you get them in Glasgow as well, don't you, Roddy?
Yes, you do. It's a West Coast speciality, mind you. Lochfine oysters, famously where Gordon Brown and Tony Blair met to do their pact. Yes. Just a political detail thrown in for you.
Thank you very much, Roddy. Very good. The pact here is keeping things 0-0, Aberdeen against Celtic. As Ramadani has possession in the midfield for Aberdeen, who could do with the spell inside the Celtic half here. They are at home, they're third in the league, but they've just been defending so far. Ball into the penalty area is too firmly struck by Matty Kennedy, and it sails over everyone and goes out for a goal kick to Joe Hart away to our left-hand side.
It's just that point in time in the game, you think 30-ish minutes in, you know, it's settling into the pattern you expect from it. And it may well be that Aberdeen, we're right in front of us, we've got a back 5 and a 3 right in front of that. There is so little space, but that's what Celtic are used to, trying to beat down, and they need to be clever and they need to be concentrated and they need to play nice little neat 1-2s in the edge of that box just to get through once.
Yeah, here is Celtic's captain Callum McGregor midway inside the Aberdeen half. That's a good ball. Ralston just too far in front of Maeda. Good idea, just hopped along the firm icy turf and went out of play away to our right hand side.
Do you know that ball you play between usually a centre back and a full back? You know, it's a very common ball, and a wide player always likes that, and he can fly in behind it. Do you know when you're playing against a back 5, it's different? It's much harder because you've got a left centre back, he's right out there, so it has to be an absolute eye of a needle ball there. Now there are players in that Celtic team that can play that ball, but so far they've probably tried it 4 or 5 times, right and left, never quite got it yet.
Yeah, Jack McKenzie, who's playing instead of Liam Scales in that position, left-hand side of the back three. 2 years ago, he was Aberdeen's Development Player of the Year. Was hooked on here in the midfield by Ramadani. Celtic have got a lot of players back as Coulson runs into heavy traffic on the left wing but keeps the ball alive with Leighton Clarkson, who's a young man who they think an awful lot of him at Liverpool, and they've been tracking his progress on this loan spell at Pittodrie. A man who's already played in the Champions League for Jurgen Klopp, as well as the domestic cups in England. Celtic get a free kick here, and Aberdeen, just when they thought they might have had a bit of presence in their opponent's half, they've got to come all the way back. Aberdeen fans say, hang on, you've taken the free kick from the wrong place, and the referee agrees, and it goes back to where it should have been.
Yeah, you mentioned that kind of midfield area and the players that are playing in there. I mean, Clarkson and Coulson, they're all really comfortable on the ball. They're really nice players on the ball when they get on the ball. The problem is they're not getting on the ball often enough, and that's the difficulty. They have to impress their personality, but they're against a very, very good Celtic midfield, who are, well, packed full of midfielders that play international football, so it's not easy.
0-0. Celtic, who scored very early when these sides last met in the summer, but they're having to carve it out here with half-time approaching. That's a miscontrol on the edge of the area by Matt O'Reilly. It was drilled rather firm towards him. Leighton Clarkson, just as I praised him a moment ago, he gives it away. Ralston has it again for Celtic midway inside the Aberdeen half, gives it short to Callum McGregor. Chance to look up. He thinks about a shot here, and whoa, plenty of power, but too high. He absolutely put the laces through that into the Aberdeen fans in the stands behind the goal, but not threatening the target.
Well, the possession stat must be huge in favour of Celtic. Obviously, the amount of play that's happening in the Aberdeen, defensive third must be huge as well. But they keep on getting through that big area of 5, 6 to 7 defenders right in front of the D there. It's actually not looking as if they're going to get through that just now, is it? So they might have to try something else, and already beginning to think, Giakoumakis a consideration maybe at half time. He's a big burlier centre forward, and you can maybe play him as a central player that you can then drag space away, and they can go and attack the ball when they put in from wide.
10 minutes, so they're about to go into the break. Actually, we mused on Thursday. More of that in just a moment as Ross McCrory comes over the halfway line, and the attempt to control by Miovski wasn't great, and Celtic regained possession. We were wondering, when we were waiting for the stoppages to be put up at half-time, would they be guided by what we'd seen at the World Cup? Were we going to get like 8 minutes to be added on? And it was 5 minutes in that first half, and I thought, that feels a bit more than usual. What do you think, Pat? Do you think that World Cup thing of being very strict on the time will continue now in the domestic leagues?
One of the few people who desperately hopes it will. I hate time wasting.
Yeah.
It's
and it seemed to work as the World Cup went on. There was less time wasting.
Exactly.
Right?
That was the whole point of it.
Yeah. Here is Maida running into the penalty area on the right hand side, taking on Coulson. Coulson did well. He was falling to the ground, and he still made the block. How did he do that? Corner to Celtic.
Do you know, he is the second Aberdeen player who's tackled with his head on the ground. It happened a few. Duke did it a little bit earlier, just in front of us here. It shows you there's a bit of commitment there.
Absolutely. Putting your head in the face of danger for the cause. Here comes the Celtic corner. O'Reilly's in-swinger too close to the keeper. Well held onto by Dutchman Kelly Roos.
Got to do a little bit better than that. Roos is a tall goalkeeper. Looks very comfortable in the air, doesn't he? When the ball comes in, he commands that 8 to 10 yards area in front of his goal.
Long clearance from the goalkeeper. Ralston's flick-on header. McGregor sprinting back is able to help it to Joe Hart, and Celtic will build their way out from the back. Celtic's next 2 games in a row, both at home. They host Livingston on Wednesday, then they play St Johnstone next Saturday, which is Christmas Eve, and then it's back-to-back away games, first at Hibs and then at Rangers. The Old Firm Derby coming up on January the 2nd, and Rangers would love Celtic to drop a few points between now and then and make that very much a feisty affair. Here's Taylor for Celtic, just outside the penalty area. Playing from left to right, gives it to Ralston. Ralston back into the middle to Callum McGregor once again. Taylor onto Jota. This is a familiar attacking pattern. Here comes the cross from Jota. Not too high this time. McCrory's header meets it at the front post, and Aberdeen are able to play it away with Hayden Coulson down the left-hand side. But Maida's determined, and he chases across and he wins the ball fairly. Aberdeen fans were sure that was a foul. Jim Goodwin's roaring down to the technical area.
Nothing wrong with it.
Good old-fashioned, shoulder charge almost, wasn't it? O'Reilly's ball in, chested down by Kyogo. Aberdeen fans felt he might have handled it. Hatane was arriving, couldn't shoot. Taylor tries to drill one in, and it's blocked away. And Aberdeen still holding on here and keeping this game at 0-0. 5 live at BBC Sounds. Here's Hatate. Good movement inside the penalty area. McCrory, the defender's got to be careful. Ramadani's back with them. And another shoulder charge by Hatate, and Aberdeen are playing it away. It's a game being played with good gusto here now at the moment. Two committed teams. Ball over the top. Duke goes sprinting after it. Starfelt gets there first and helps it back to Joe Hart. Just for a moment looked like he was going to slip, but didn't.
You know, he's not actually put under a lot of pressure, Joe Hart, a lot of the time when he's playing for Celtic, but he is trying to play much more with his feet than he used to. He has improved a bit. He's not a natural, but he has improved a bit with the ball at his feet.
Great CV. Joe Hart, Manchester City, Torino, West Ham, Burnley, Tottenham, as well as his England appearances. Here's Jota's latest cross. Cleared away by Anthony Stewart. Sits up for McGregor, and the sting was taken off the shot. Too many bodies between him and the target, and by the time it reached Kelly Roos, it was just a trickle and he could fall down on it and make the save. 0-0.
Just saying, they get the ball so often 18 to 20 yards out, Celtic. They have shots, so they will take deflections. That time maybe just got a little bit unlucky that it killed all the pace in the ball, but eventually if you keep on taking pot shots from there, when you've got space to go and line one up, something's going to get through. Also, just a moment before that, every single time Jota gets the ball, he gets a cross away. You think about it, that doesn't often happen with many wide players these days, but almost every time he does it, there will be a finished end product to it.
Yeah, he doesn't run into cul-de-sacs as Aberdeen win a free kick near the halfway line, foul on Leighton Clarkson. Can't be many games this season that Celtic haven't scored in the league in the first half, but Aberdeen would love to nick a goal themselves here. If they could go in front at the break, we could have quite a lively second period here at Pittodrie. Duke with a lovely little trick, manages to nutmeg Ralston, supported by Coulson. Aberdeen to the edge of the penalty area left hand side, but support is back there. McGregor helping out the defence, and over enthusiastic pressure from Aberdeen gives away a free kick, and Celtic breathe again.
Lovely little moments from Duke, aren't there? You know, the work rate's been fantastic. He can almost slightly stiff when he runs, but he has got some real skills.
I almost wonder here if Celtic need to sort of smoke Aberdeen out a little bit here, let them have a bit more pressure in their own half, and then bang, hit them on the counter. I'm sure Aberdeen will be well drilled for that not to happen.
Well,
but
yeah, actually, that's a brilliant point you make there. And if you watch the French national team, they're brilliant at it. They're absolutely phenomenal at it. We just say, yeah, you have the ball. You just stand back a little bit. We need to create space to run into. We need to create space so Mbappe and Dembele can go and hammer into that space. Whereas Celtic, the attitude is no, front foot, front foot, front foot. You're right, and maybe they're not the worst thing they could possibly do.
I think another 10 yards for Kyogo and Jota and Maida to run into would make a huge difference here. But down the other end, this is Duke on his right boot, just outside the penalty area, rolls it to the right hand side. Matty Kennedy is there. Now, can he deliver a bit of quality here? Three in the middle, two step overs, gets too close to the defender. Taylor's done well and made the block, and not only does he win possession back, he plays it away, and Hatate wins the throw in for his team. Kennedy needed to get it in.
He did. I'm just saying, like, everyone thinks it's the easiest thing in the world for a wide player to get a ball in. Jota makes it look so easy, doesn't he? But it's not against decent defenders, and very rarely have they got up there in the wide areas with a few red shirts in the box. So you're right, he needed to get it in and he could.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for Aberdeen. They've not had many of those. Aberdeen 0, Celtic 0. 5 live and BBC Sounds. World Cup third, fourth place game coming up at 3 o'clock today. We'll be across that with Ian Dennis later on this afternoon, and commentary of the World Cup final tomorrow, which is just going to be intriguing. I mean, the globe is going to come to a standstill to watch that and listen to that game. Here is Matt O'Reilly, edge of the penalty area, right hand side, back to Callum McGregor, low into the feet of Kyogo, but it's not working. They've not been able to get through that stubborn Aberdeen defence, so this time the free kick goes to the home side, and an almost ironic cheer for the Aberdeen fan.
They're not getting through, but they don't actually look close to getting through when they go centrally. I mean, it's one of those ones, yeah, they'll try and play wide, and they do look a little bit more dangerous, or a good bit more dangerous when they play wide, or indeed if they play it into centre, then just lay it back for a shot. But they try to play the intricate 1-2s, you know, through the centre of that defence. It's a great red wall of Aberdeen.
I've brought, I don't know if you've noticed, you might have thought I just put on weight. I brought a hot water bottle. I've got it stuffed down the jacket at the front.
You would be so butch at the start. You said, no, I'm not wearing my electric gilet today. Yeah, because I've got a hot water bottle.
I got a hot water bottle, which I filled up in the hotel kettle this morning. It's beginning to lose its heat. It's done well to this point, but the limits of that analog technology is It was Roddy just flaunts his electric
Roddy,
right to the right-hand side.
Roddy, where's that darning needle? Quick.
Throw in for Aberdeen on the left-hand side. Coulson swings it in. They've committed plenty forward. Stewart got a flick on, but Kyoko back there is able to clear away. Aberdeen come again. First bit of pressure they've been able to put on. Coulson hangs one in. Hearts come miles out, and he missed it. And Miovski almost managed to nudge it back goal bound. And that wasn't great from Joe Hart. He came so far. I don't think he needed to come for that. And Celtic are relieved that they managed to get it away.
Joe Hart has actually only been asked one question. He failed to answer it. He really did, and it's one of the difficult things. It's cold out there. He's a very, very little to do. It was a difficult ball, looping at the back post. He completely missed it.
Here comes Celtic down the other end. Just a few green shoots of encouragement from Aberdeen in recent minutes, with half-time approaching here at Pittodrie. Still 0-0. Ramadani intercepts, and Celtic remain frustrated, and Aberdeen appear to be growing in confidence. Conor Barron up to the halfway line, pushes it in front of the Macedonian Bojan Miovski, but he's been in the foot race by Starfelt. Starfelt showing no signs of recuperation from his injury. Comfortable in the sprint, gets there first and helps it back to the goalkeeper.
It's interesting, they never play the ball to Miovski's feet, ever. They just lump it ahead of him, tell him to chase it. But he's not quicker than Starfelt, so it's not working. So he's got to try something else.
Miovski, who's been far and away Aberdeen's top scorer this season. Here's Ralston into the penalty area for Celtic, but too high with the cross, sails over everyone. Controlled by Jota on the far side, pulls it back cleverly to the edge of the area. Matt O'Reilly runs into Ramadani. Aberdeen are going to clear it away here with Conor Barron. Barron, who was Aberdeen's Young Player of the Year last season. Now Leighton Clarkson over the top. Miovski's going to chase. Test for Starfelt. Pushes it back to Joe Hart. Not very comfortable, but Celtic get it away. And another miscue, this time by Ralston. Aberdeen are beginning to turn the tide. They won't want to hear this half-time whistle come. Duke on the left-hand side holds off Maeda. Japanese player comes back and nibbles on him, and the referee says no foul, and Aberdeen fans are up on their feet and they're throwing punches in the air, and they're not happy with that decision. They thought there could have been a free kick for their team there, but much better from Aberdeen in the last few minutes.
Yeah, it's lifted up, and again, it's that ball you were talking about. You spotted it very, very early on, just behind the centre backs. Now you might not get it, but it's causing a little bit of panic there, and certainly for Starfelt there. And the one thing you will say about Miovski, he will keep on chasing everything.
Jota to the left-hand side to Taylor, 10 yards from the byline, and there is the whistle for the break, a whistle that almost Aberdeen don't want to hear, because they had wrestled just a little bit more purchase in this game towards the end of that first half after incessant Celtic pressure. But in the end and ultimately, there were probably two shots on target for Kelly Roos. There was one that caused him bother, which he saved with his hands and then kicked away. Other than that, it's only been tame attempts, and Celtic will expect better in the second period. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, they probably will. They want more clear-cut chances. Certainly a little bit more imagination. You know how Celtic play. They have the ball most of the time. They try and neatly play it. A lot of 1-2s through the middle. It's not harming against this three centre backs here who are just covering all the areas. When they go wide, it looks a little bit more dangerous. I just wonder if Giakoumakis is the answer in the second half.
Question for you, Pat. Is this the first game we've seen this season without a second of added time at half-time?
I didn't even notice that, but the ball was hardly out. You're absolutely, there was no injuries. Certainly there was no physios on there at any point in time, and it was played at a huge pace. So no one wanted to get down and get hypothermia.
Here's a startling statistic. Aberdeen are the home team, and for most of this half they've had 19% of the possession. They've actually pushed it up to 20 just before half-time. This is the home team's share of the ball, and that's something you would imagine they would have to remedy in the second half.
I don't think they've got above 50%, but they need more than 20.
Pat Nevin, try and help me out here. What is the thing that sums up that first half better? Is it the referee blowing up after 44 minutes and 58 seconds? Or is it the fact that you and Connor spent a lot of time discussing the diet of oyster catchers?
Now, I don't want you to think it was a dull game because we're not to the oyster catchers, but and actually you can't do a game of Pittodrie without mentioning the gulls and the birds. They're all here all the time. And by the way, at the end, you may not know this, right? When this place empties, if you stay with us for 5 minutes, you will hear nothing but seagulls. Nothing but seagulls here. They just come in, and obviously there's one or two bits of food to eat there. So If you stay with us for 2 minutes after the game, you're getting more than Oyster catch.
Connor, just for your information, limpets and mussels.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
No worries. I'm here for you.
Public service broadcasting.
Absolutely, always. Thank you, guys. We'll hope for better in the second half. A bit of racing news to bring you. Frankie Dettori's just announced that he's going to retire at the end of next season. He said he's been thinking about it for a while, but that whilst, quote, my heart wants to carry on, I have to use my brain. I want to stop at the top. Dettori turned 52 on Thursday. We'll bring you more on this later on 5 Live Sport. We're going to be discussing Steve Borthwick and the continuing story around his inevitable, perhaps, arrival as the new England head coach shortly. And we are also going to hear from the star of England's performance this afternoon in Pakistan, Rehan Ahmed, on debut. 2 wickets for him on day 1 of the final test. So we'll hear from him after the latest news with Matthew Bunn.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Thanks, Steve. There's been further travel disruption across England, Wales and Scotland as rail staff stage a second day of industrial action, the 4th this week. The leader of the RMT union, Mick Lynch, has suggested a deal on pay could eventually be reached, but as our business correspondent Ramzan Kamali reports, it could take a while.
A little earlier I just spoke to Mick Lynch, who's actually on the picket line here at Paddington Station, and he's pretty determined. He says his members are pretty determined, and that they will strike to get what they're after. It's not just pay that they increase, pay that they're after, but they want improved conditions too. Yesterday we sort of heard some mood music, some voices from Mick Lynch and also from the other side as well. It sounded a little bit more conciliatory. There is no concrete change just yet.
Doctors have told NHS bosses that their plan to free up hospital beds in England ahead of Wednesday's ambulance strike will be difficult to achieve. Health service managers hope that by discharging as many patients as safely as possible, handover times will be kept to a minimum. Several parts of northwest London are without water after 2 mains burst overnight. 60 firefighters were sent to rescue around 24 people whose homes were flooded in Camden, many of them basement flats. The UN's refugee agency has thanked Angelina Jolie, who's announced that she'll be stepping down from her role as one of its ambassadors after more than 20 years. The agency said she was one of the most influential advocates for refugee rights. And snow and ice weather warnings are in place for much of the UK this weekend, with further disruption expected to Christmas travel arrangements. 15 centimetres of snow is forecast in the north of Scotland and 8 centimetres in Wales.
Get into the festive spirit with podcasts on BBC Sounds, like The Infinite Monkey Cage.
We thought we would say to Brian, what would you like to do, Monkey Cage, babe? And I thought it would be the normal, can we do quantum entanglement? But he said, wine.
Now You're Asking with Marion Keyes and Tara Flynn.
We've always needed in Northern Europe a big festival at this time. That's what I see it as, a little beacon of light in the middle of the dark.
And You're Dead to Me.
So this is basically Dickens in his sort of Spice Girl era, where he's getting Christmas number 1 year after year.
Listen on BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport
with Steve Crossman.
Good afternoon, welcome back to Saturday's 5 Live Sport. Aberdeen 0, Celtic 0, half-time at Pittodrie. We've got second half commentary on the way. From 3 o'clock, we'll be round the grounds in all of the games that are on in the EFL and up in Scotland as well, keeping you right up to date. One of the big stories of today, Rehan Ahmed becoming England's youngest Test player as he took to the field against Pakistan in Karachi. 18 years and 126 days. He then took 2 wickets as Ben Stokes' side bowled out Pakistan for 304 on the first day of the third and final test. Of course, the series has already been sewn up by England. Zach Crawley then lost his wicket. He was LBW for a duck, so England closed on 7 for 1. But the day belonged to Ahmed, and he's been telling Simon Mann all about it.
Probably the best day of my life so far. But yeah, it was great. It was great to get rid of the first ball and then get back into my spell.
Yeah. Did you sleep last night?
Nah, I couldn't sleep much. I slept probably 3 hours, but yeah, that was enough really. So.
And when were you told?
The day before. So I was told the day before. I was called into the room. Beans were going and Stokesy told me and I just smiled. I didn't know what to do.
When he called you in, did you sense that was what he was going to tell you?
Yeah, maybe. I was just like, he hasn't called me in just yet, so it's either a good thing or a bad thing. So I was hoping it was good.
It was your 4th first-class match. I mean, it might seem a strange question to someone who's making their test here, but did you feel ready? Did you feel ready for the big stage?
Yeah, I mean, I've always feel ready. I think if you have the opportunity inside and other people think you're ready for it, then you should know you're ready for it too. So just thankful for it.
And you got your cap. Your dad came on Test Match Special and said it was the best day of his life. He gave you big hug. What was that moment like?
It was the best moment of my life. To have my dad there, would have loved to have my mum and my granddad here as well, but even just to have my dad there was just one of the biggest moments of my life.
And you've had to wait as well. You had to be patient to get your chance here.
Yeah, I mean, I've come here just to improve, and I didn't expect myself to play, but the way Baz and Stokesy backed me, I just can't complain.
So you get the ball in hand, first over. What was that like?
Very nervous. I was very nervous, but it was great. I loved the nerves. But yeah, it was nice to get rid of the first over and then slowly settle in.
And the first wickets. Saud Shakeel has been so adhesive in this series. It's been really difficult to get rid of. Just talk our listeners through how you managed to do it.
I mean, I just tried to bowl a googly on the leg spin and hope he nicked one. I think it was that simple, but yeah, I just tried to put as much rev as I can into that bit of rough there is outside off. And yeah, it was a great catch by Popey as well.
Ben Stokes was saying yesterday, I'm not sure if he's a bowler who bats or a batter who bowls. What are you? How do you see yourself?
I've always seen myself more of a batsman, but I think my bowling right now is a bit better, but I think I enjoy batting more 100%.
Sound very mature, doesn't he? And I'm sure we'll hear more about Rayhan Ahmed tomorrow. Sports Extra back on air at 4:45 in the morning. Day of European Champions Cup Rugby Union over on 5 Sports Extra, week 2 of the competition. Right now there's commentary of Exeter Chiefs against the Bulls, which kicked off at 1 o'clock. The score is 15-7 to Exeter. The Bulls, of course, one of those teams who've come in from South Africa for the first time. They're based in Pretoria. Edinburgh against Cast is a 1 p.m. kickoff. It's currently 7-0 to Edinburgh. In the European Challenge Cup pool stages, Toulon against Bath. Toulon lead by 10 points to 0. But our feature match in the Champions Cup is Leicester Tigers against Claremont from 3:15. Our correspondent Chris Jones will be watching. Afternoon, Chris.
Hi, Steve. How's it going?
Yeah, good. Actually, just before we get into this, the South African team's coming in for the first time. This is the first time I've had to talk about it. Is opinion split on whether it adds or takes away from the competition, just out of interest?
Definitely split. And it was really interesting to hear the comments from both Rob Baxter, the Exeter boss, and the Bulls boss, Jake White, this week, just raising the logistical challenges that it brings. You know, the Bulls have to go to Exeter and then come back and play in the United Rugby Championship. I suppose the moment the South Africans joined the URC, they really have to be in the Champions Cup as well, because a South African side won the URC last season. It was Stormers against Bulls in the final, and Stormers won it. So it's quite hard to say, come to the URC, win it, but then you can't go into the Champions Cup, which is meant to be the champions from all the leagues playing against each other. So it is a funny one. Plenty of eyebrows raised about the fact there are South Africans playing in Europe. That's why really it's a stress on the Champions Cup side of it rather than the European Cup side. But as Rob Baxter said this week, it's got to work financially, it's got to be viable, and the rugby's got to be good as well. And looking at what the Bulls and Stormers have done over the course of the last 12 months, 18 months, the rugby will look after itself. Can they just make sure the logistical, financial side of it also work too?
It's really interesting. But obviously it's not the big story of the day. The big story of every day at the moment when it comes to rugby union is Steve Borthwick, and you'll be watching Leicester against Claremont. And
the same question we're all asking, is this Steve Borthwick's last game in charge of Leicester? We asked that before the Ospreys game. It wasn't. Will Gloucester next weekend, Christmas Eve, big game. We've got 5 live commentary of that one. Will it be Steve Borthwick's last? Will it be a Leicester team without Steve Borthwick? Or, as is possible, will we hear in the coming days that Steve Borthwick has signed with England, but then will join a bit later on in January? This is all about Leicester making it work for them as much as the RFU making it work for them. The RFU need a coach, but Leicester are in no rush to get rid of their director of rugby that led them from the bottom of the pile to winning the title just a few months ago at Twickenham. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes. My understanding is that it's pretty much a done deal. Then it comes to timing, and then it also comes to assistant coaches. Eddie Jones has left a full set of assistant coaches. 2 of them, Richard Cockerell and Brett Hodgson, who's yet to coach England, are here today. Who, if anyone, will Borthwick bring from Leicester, and when will they join? So even though it's looking almost certain Borthwick will be Eddie Jones' successor as England head coach, the exact makeup of the coaching team and the exact timing of when they all move to Twickenham, that still remains up in the air.
And Cockerell was named interim coach. I think if you're naming an interim coach like the RFU did, you probably know, don't you, that getting the man you want is complicated.
Yeah, I think so. And I think they needed really just to put on the press release that there was someone manning the fort, you know, just to say that, you know, if all else fails with Steve Borthwick, then at least in Richard Cockerell, they have got a man who has coached Leicester here to multiple Premiership titles, who did pretty well, especially in his first few seasons at Edinburgh, has also coached at Toulon. So they've got a pretty able candidate man in the fort, but Borthwick is the man they want. You know, you could ask a few questions about the RFU succession plan, why they chose to make the change now and not after the World Cup, or 12 months, 18 months ago. We're still waiting to hear a full explanation from the RFU, but hopefully that'll be forthcoming in the coming days. And as much for England fans to get some clarity over who's leading them in the Six Nations, there needs to be clarity here at Leicester. I think they were expecting to lose Borthwick at some point, Steve, but they probably expected to lose Borthwick next May or June and him to go and join Eddie Jones's coaching team then, giving them time to bring in a high-profile, big-hitting successor. Now they've got to accelerate their processes. And so it'll be really interesting to see how the crowd today, what kind of voice they're in, and also just the Leicester team, and whether they're being affected at all by all this speculation.
Yeah, and like you said, that there's no time for the RFU. Six Nations early next year, World Cup in 9 months. Borthwick is Chris Ashton's coach at Leicester Tigers, and Chris has been telling us on Rugby Union Weekly if he'd be a good fit.
He would do so well in that environment, and having him been in there. If we think of recently, just the times when England have been most successful is when Steve was there. When Steve stepped away, they've kind of slowly ended up into the situation that we're in now. One thing that Steve does is he constantly has people into the club most weeks, looking at his coaching, looking at how the environment is, constantly assessing the environment. Literally, most weeks we have someone in to look over it and give him feedback, which is obviously a really big, strong point for someone when you're at the top of an organisation. Being able to accept feedback and understand where you're going right and wrong, constantly adjusting to it, is something that I've not seen very much at all of. So to recognise that you need that within your structure, within your environment somewhere to help you constantly adjust is like what...
But there's no ego there.
Yeah, there's no ego. He understands that he needs people. Don't know if he's got it from previous experience or as a player or as a coach. The understanding as a coach that you need to constantly be updated and just tweak to it along the way is a real positive.
That's really interesting, Chris. And look, we knew this already, I think, but what really comes through there is the massive difference between Borthwick and Eddie Jones.
I think it's a really interesting one because some people would say, given how much Borthwick has learned from Jones as Japan assistant coach, as England assistant coach, people would wonder whether this is a continuity candidate. But as personalities, we chatted on it a bit about it on air the other day, didn't we? They're chalk and cheese. So yes, there might be some similarities in their coaching philosophy, but as people, Eddie Jones and Steve Borthwick are cut from very different cloths.
Chris, thank you very much. That's our correspondent, Chris Jones. So we will keep you right up to date with all of the Rugby Union. Chris is going to be at Leicester Tigers against Claremont from 3 this afternoon. If you want the live action, we've got 4 commentaries from the Champions Cup on Sports Extra all afternoon. Bulls on the centre spot at Pittodrie. We're ready for second half commentary of Aberdeen versus Celtic. Connor.
Thanks very much, Steve. Teams are back out. One change in personnel. Celtic have brought on the Israeli international forward Liel Abada, and he has taken the place of Dyson Maeda, who scored against Croatia at the World Cup at the last 16 stage. But fresh legs into the Celtic attack. Celtic had 15 attempts at goal in that first half, but just the one properly on target. And Ange Postecoglou will be hoping for that the Aberdeen goalkeeper will be a little bit busier now in this second period. Back underway, Celtic playing from right to left as we look down. Green and white hooped shirts, white shorts, Aberdeen all in red. Aberdeen still with Kelly Roos, the goalkeeper, 3 central defenders, McCrory, Stewart, McKenzie. The 2 wing-backs, Kennedy and Coulson, have been busy. 3 in the middle of the midfield, Barron, Ramadani and Clarkson. And up front, Miovski and Duke, as Celtic on the attack right from the get-go, as they were for most of the first half. McGregor into Hatate, out to the right-hand side, and a chance for a low ball from the new man Abada, and he nearly got on the end of a 1-2 there into the penalty area. Aberdeen clear it away only as far as McGregor. 1-2 between him and Matt O'Reilly. Low ball from McGregor into the penalty area. Abada gets a touch. Kyogo too, but too many red-shirted defenders back there, and Aberdeen are able to clear away. So Celtic have got Joe Hart in goal. Back 4 of Ralston, Carter-Vickers, Starfelt and Taylor. Greg Taylor, who's making his 100th appearance for Celtic. In midfield, Callum McGregor back from injury with Matt O'Reilly and Rio Hatate. And now it's a front 3 of Abada, Kyogo and Jota As Ralston's cross from the right hand side has got too much on it, sails over the penalty area and eventually goes out down by the corner flag, and it went out on the throw in side. So throw into Aberdeen, right full back position for them. Pat Nevin.
Yeah, Abada looks lively when he comes on. He will go and run players. He's got real pace. He's got some tricks as well. Get to the byline. But just noticeable right at the start there. Celtic tried exactly the same thing that hasn't been working. Tried those 1-2s through that massive red bodies right in the D and got nowhere. But I suppose they only have to get it right once.
It's been a high energy game. These have been the two clubs with the youngest average age in the Scottish Premiership this season. Ralston with a calming touch back to Kyle Starfelt, another who's recently back from injury. And now Greg Taylor will bring it forward into the midfield, onto McGregor. Helps it to his right-hand side to the tall Matt O'Reilly. Further out to the right-hand side to Abada, who is playing like a right winger since coming on. Back into the centre, McGregor onto Taylor. This familiar pattern, they work their way left to right, back again, and Aberdeen have to shuffle across on each occasion. As O'Reilly gives it back to McGregor here just outside the D. Taylor, each of these players, they're getting it just outside the area, but there's no room to shoot. They've got a defender in their face each time. Low ball comes in along the edge of the 6-yard box. Anthony Stewart's clearance is straight up into the air. Aberdeen under pressure here. Might have been a handball of Jota. Referee was close to it and says play on. Celtic still have it on the edge of the box. This is intense pressure now. McGregor has a look up. No room to shoot. Taylor, lazy ball in with his right boot. No intent properly on that at all, and Aberdeen are able to clear it away.
It's not unlike Manchester City, the way they play. You know, you get the ball, they hold. Try and figure out a way to get to the byline. Problem is Celtic aren't getting there often enough.
McGregor's ball in, an attempt of a backheel volley by Hatate. The ball was behind him. He jumped in the air and like a donkey kick backwards. He tried to flick the ball on, and it goes through comfortably to the arms of the goalkeeper Kelly Roos.
Well, the other analogy would be like a basketball game. You know, you've got the hoop, you're not allowed in the box in some ways, and they just keep on playing round it. In the end, they have to go for long pot shots most of the time. Celtic, that may well work in there.
In basketball, you do tend to retreat though once the ball goes out, whereas this is like one-on-one. You know, this is a basketball game into the same net, really. Yeah. Joe Hart has been a spectator. One cross he came and flapped at it in the first half, but he has not been troubled.
No, and I don't think you want to be troubled. I think the feeling is they've got so much to play. Roddy was saying there, roughly 20% of possession that Aberdeen have had, and very little of that has been near Joe Hart.
Celtic hoping to pick up after this World Cup break as they left off, riding high at the top of the table in Scotland, and Aberdeen in third place, hoping to keep in touch with Rangers ahead of them. But at the moment, 0-0 at Pittodrie. In a cold but fairly still day. If there'd been a strong wind today, I think we'd all be in big trouble, but there's not much breeze. It's just a dead cold as Hatate tries to trick and turn on the edge of the penalty area, tries to send it across, and it's blocked out for a corner to Celtic on the left hand side.
You know what, Jota doesn't get across in there, and that's amazing, but he got a corner. That's about the worst he ever gets when he's got one-on-one.
Jota's come across and placed the ball for this corner kick, raises his right hand as a signal. Here it comes, low to the front post but not dealt with immediately, and Aberdeen relieved to get it away. It falls to Ralston here, midway inside the Aberdeen half. That's a very good pass into the penalty area to pick out Abada, tries to take on McKenzie to the byline, just about gets a cross in, but it's into the arms of the goalkeeper, off the head of an opponent, and Kenny Roos holds on to it. But yeah, Abada's certainly had an impression since coming on.
Yep, again, he's got his full back and he's getting beyond him. He's getting the odd cross in as well. The two wide players are getting it time and time again. You just wonder now and again if it's going to take something unusual. When you look at, teams that play like this, like the Liverpools, the Manchester Cities, etc., they'll often get a full back. They'll often get somebody who breaks that line and is unmarked, who flies from the back. Juranovic would have normally done it for Celtic. It may well take something like that to happen for Celtic to break down this really well drilled Aberdeen defence.
12 games called off because of the weather in Scotland today. Livingston, Dundee and Motherwell St Mirren amongst them of the Premiership games. Hearts, Kilmarnock and Ross County against St Johnstone due to go ahead at 3 o'clock. This is the 12:30 game. Aberdeen against Celtic. 0-0 for the moment. We mentioned the first half. There's only been one scoreless draw between these teams in the last 30 years. Hopefully we're not going to get another one today, as Aberdeen tried to release top scorer Bojan Miovski again, but can't get in between the two central defenders, Starvelt and Carter Vickers.
I think there's probably a few Rangers fans up there saying, "Oh no, we'll put up with that. 0-0, we'll deal with that."
I am selfishly looking for drama and excitement, Pat, as a low cross from the left-hand side comes in, but it's cleared away by Jack McKenzie at the back for Aberdeen. On a cold day, you don't want a 0-0 draw.
Yeah, but I mean, there's enough entertainment and interest here, but it is turning into the classic chess match. You know, Celtic keep on doing the same thing. You know, plan A's do plan A, plan A's do plan B's do plan A better.
Abada, Falstrom in the penalty area, shoots left-footed, can't keep it down, sails over the crossbar. Good first touch control to trap what was a high ball dropping to him in a tight, congested area, but then he couldn't get the composure, couldn't get the balance to put the shot on target, and it goes out for a goal kick to Aberdeen, away to our left-hand side, 0-0.
That is the intriguing thing about Ange Postecoglou. He always generally does exactly the same thing. He adapts it generally only through personnel, not through style, not through system, nothing like that. Just keep on doing what we do, he will say, and eventually it will pay off. And do you know what? He's almost always right, or it certainly is in a Scottish context anyway. But you do look down at that bench and think, you know, could you have a centre forward in there who's got a bit more physicality that would then create space for other players around them?
Celtic are trusting the process here. To be fair, Aberdeen's defending has been good. Celtic hoping that there could be just one little slip that they could take advantage of, but that hasn't happened yet. 0-0. McGregor, centre circle, rolls it to the right hand side to Ralston, trying to get into that angled pass. Lovely for Abada. This could be the chance. How did Kyogo not score? Fresh air shot 3 yards out. Should have scored, had to score there. Really good through ball. We mentioned in the first half, trying to get in between the central defenders and the wing back, and Abada laid it on a plate for Kyogo Furuhashi. Celtic's top scorer can't believe he's missed that.
Well, and Abada can't believe it either, because you'll not often get that position there where you finally get to the byline and keep on talking about you get to the byline. The top teams try to get there all the time. It's almost impossible to defend it when you put a good ball in. He does put a good ball in. And then for some reason, maybe it's coming because it's his left foot. I mean, that's not an excuse, that's the reason. But it's still not a good enough excuse.
By his standards, Kyogo Furuhashi will be very disappointed that he hasn't put that away. I mean, the goal at his mercy, 2-3 yards out, laid up, if anything, just too easy. He didn't give it the full concentration he needed to. Here's McGregor running towards the D, but taken away from him by Leighton Clarkson, and Aberdeen clear it long into the Celtic half once again. Joe Hart wearing all yellow, short sleeves on a cold day for the goalkeeper.
One of the things you would say about that's the first switch off you've really had from Aberdeen, isn't it? Where there's been a clear gap there, he's lost his man, and as Abada making that run in there and into that area. You know, Chelsea have to keep on doing that. Aberdeen can't allow that to happen too often.
Hatate turns, shoots, always rising once again. So it's been a pattern to the game. Celtic trying to tiki-taka their way into the penalty area and coming up against a firm red wall of Aberdeen defenders, or else shots like that from distance. McGregor's had a few, O'Reilly's had a few, Taylor's had a few, and none of them have threatened Kelly Roos's goal. I mean, flies into the top corner, it's a brilliant moment, but not happening at the moment for Celtic.
Well, I've just had a couple of looks at the Kyogo chance there. He's not even caught his foot, it's hit off his shin pad, you know, and he's missed it, and Postecoglou can't believe it. I mean, this is, if he wants anybody in that pitch in green and white hoops to go and get that chance, it is Kyogo. That's what he's there, and that's what he's on for. That's what he's paid for, that's what he's generally good at, and he made a real mess of it.
Laid on a plate. Celtic with 50 league goals this season in their 15 games before today, but being frustrated here. That's a mistake. Ross McCrory's free kick hasn't cleared the lines at all. He's given it straight to the busy Abada. He's got support from O'Reilly. Back to the penalty area. Abada shoots himself this time, and it's saved off the legs of the goalkeeper. Angle was tight. He did have support inside, but Abada, disappointed that Kyogo hadn't finished off the previous move, decided to take that one on himself.
He's looking lively though, Abada. He's come on with, as if he's got something to prove there. His pace is causing all sorts of problems there for Aberdeen down their left-hand side.
Clarkson wins it back for Aberdeen. Duke battles gamely, but can't hold it. He lost his footing 2 times there. He bounced back up, but he couldn't keep it going, and surrounded by defenders, he eventually had to give up possession. Taylor has it again for Celtic. 0-0 on 5 Live and BBC Sounds. World Cup final to come tomorrow, 3 o'clock kickoff. You can hear the game live here on 5 Live. Ralston just outside the penalty area, rolls it to Taylor. Then there's a step over from Jota trying to get it onto that right boot, but it's wild again. It's so far wide, it's closer to the corner flag than it was the goal.
Yeah, well, about desperation again, you know. They know they're going to get a limited amount of chances, Celtic, and they've had one or two there. They've not made the best use of them. But they just have to keep on going. Whereas Aberdeen at the moment, I look at them just now, and you watch Miovski and you know, Duke up front, and you think, well, you know, you're causing problems because you're running into space. You're hardly getting any service at all. But oddly, two things are very noticeable. I haven't seen those two players work together once yet. You know, link up in any way. To beat good defences, you'll need to try and link up at some point, as one now heads to the other at last.
Here's Miovski controlling it, but unable to pick out a pass, and Ralston clears away for Celtic. Here come Aberdeen once again, though. As Kennedy gives it to the right-hand side to Ross McCrory. McCrory tracked all the way to the corner flag by Hatate. Good work from Rio Hatate. Celtic lose it. They work very hard to get it back again. And that's going to, I presume, for throw.
Yes, a throw-in, yeah, right down by the corner flag. It is a throw-in, so they may well be tempted to take a long one if they possibly can. Certainly, both strikers are in there saying, "Yep, get the ball in if you possibly can." I'm saying that confidently. That is a throw-in.
Yeah. Throw in for Matty Kennedy. 13th time he's played against Celtic. Kennedy, he's never been on the winning side against them in his career. He's frustrated here. He wants more movement from his teammates, and he's taking a long time over this throw. Eventually gives it short to Conor Barron. Back again to Kennedy, who tries to burst into the penalty area, but that gung-ho mission doesn't work, and Celtic clear the ball away. And then Anthony Stewart just delayed a little bit with his clearance, and he was closed down by O'Reilly, and the ball goes out of play.
Do you know what I said? I thought there'd be a long throw there. The reason being is nobody came for the throw, and no one came close. And I said, well, he must have a long throw.
Yeah.
Doesn't have one, just nobody came to help him.
Interception. Hayden Coulson comes over the halfway line. Very good defending from Starfelt. Miovski was waiting for the ball to come to him. Starfelt nipped in front and cleared the ball away. Good noise now at Pittodrie, which is one of the great Scottish football crowds. But I'm sure, Pat, since your playing days, it hasn't changed all that much.
I don't think it's changed at all. The last time, I remember playing here for the national team, Scotland, and they were just building the Dick Donald stand up on the left hand side, but since then it's been exactly the same, and it's a lovely, tidy, good old fashioned game.
Absolutely, 0-0 here. If Aberdeen could get their noses in front, they'll take the roof off that stand away to our left hand side. Throw in for Aberdeen. Hayden Coulson, 24 years of age, goes across to take it, looking for his first ever Scottish League goal. And he is patient again before taking the throw in. Down the line towards Duke, beaten in the air by Ralston. Celtic regained possession. Aberdeen have had so little of the ball. There's been, you could count on one hand the number of times in this game that Aberdeen have put 5-6 passes together in a row. Foul on the halfway line on O'Reilly, free kick to Celtic.
Yeah, part of the reason that is because the ball isn't sticking up front. I mean, generally Duke now and again will get it, but he will just pin his ears back and just run with the ball as fast and as far as he possibly can. But apart from that, there's nothing sticking, so the midfielders can get up there and get a foothold.
McGregor patient, bad on the right hand side, cuts back. That's a clever ball to the byline, and then it's pulled by Hatate in towards the 6-yard box, and Aberdeen just about shuffle it out for a quarter to Celtic in front of their visiting fans on the far side.
Well, you use the word clever there, and that is maybe what's been lacking. They've been doing it all nice and tidy and neat and all that sort of stuff. You need something different. You need something sort of slightly outside the box.
Here comes the delivery of the corner, headed away by Duke on the edge of the 6-yard box. Controlled on the edge of the penalty area by Hatate, who's going to get it back here again. Celtic forced to retreat back to the centre circle, and Anthony Ralston, they'll come down the right hand side. That's been the focus of the Celtic attack since half time. No way through again though. Coulson with the block, and it goes out for another throw into Celtic.
Very interesting, you see it has gone down the right hand side. They have looked dangerous there, but the most dangerous player for Celtic in the first half was Jota on the left hand side, and he started the ball, just had one chance really to get the ball in.
Here's McGregor, cross to Taylor, clips one in, too high for Abada, and that's happened a lot today. Ball's overcooked, and we mentioned right at the very start of the programme how this feels like first day of the season, because of the World Cup break. It's kind of got the feel of, we've had a few friendlies, we've been neat and tidy, but not quite the execution that they want.
Funnily, I think we've all said it, Roddy said it before as well, tiny wee bit of rustiness, particularly in the last third. I mean, you can, it's easy, not easy, but it's relatively easy to play passes in the midfield and at the back, but they have to be tight, they need to be sharp, they need to be inch perfect when they're in that last third. And that's sometimes the thing that was missing in it. So far for Celtic this afternoon, that's the thing that's been missing.
Celtic, by the way, have already got some transfer business lined up for when the January window opens. Canadian international Alistair Johnson and Japanese player Yuki Kobayashi joining the club in the next few weeks.
It's amazing when this is mentioned now, and if it's players that maybe Celtic supporters didn't know a lot about.
No, they do.
They've got utter, complete belief in the manager's judgment, because his hit rate so far has been astonishing.
No, his knowledge of Japanese football has been very useful for Celtic.
As the two Japanese players completely misunderstand each other.
Ball goes out of play for
actually it was actually Jota with Hatate. Total misunderstanding. They usually work very well together, those two, but at the moment it's just, you can just feel it around, and one of the things that Celtic haven't got just now, they've got the supporters in the corner there, and they're mobbed, they're packed in there. I mean, it's complete solid, but it's a very small part of the ground, and it's something that Celtic usually work hard with. Their supporters get them over the line sometimes, but there's not big numbers there this time. No, through no fault of their own. I mean, they're just limited to the number of tickets they can get.
Yeah, Celtic's away form's been really, really good this season. More goals, fewer goals conceded, more wins than anyone else. This is Matt O'Reilly just outside the penalty area, gives it to the left. Taylor back into the middle again to McGregor. Very good hounding in there from the likes of Ramadani and Barron, who are making sure, this is hard labour this, when they're playing it from left to right across the penalty area, making sure no one's got room to take a shot on the edge of the box. Here's Abada, crossing position, 10 yards of the byline, flashes through everyone. I think it was ever so slightly behind Kyogo Furuhashi, and it goes through and does it go out in the end? It does, out for a throw into Aberdeen, right full back position. Abadi has given a delivery that Celtic didn't have before he came on the pitch.
He has, and but oddly that ball was put across. It was bobbling quite a lot just before it came, and I don't know if it was Jota or if it was once again that man Kyogo who was in the middle there, slightly behind him, and just bobbled, couldn't turn it in.
Aberdeen 0, Celtic 0, and a throw in for Aberdeen, right full back position. Celtic looking to restore their lead back up to the 9 points at the top of the table after Rangers' victory on Thursday against Hibs. Aberdeen's next few games, by the way, they're home again on Tuesday. They host Rangers here. Then it's St Mirren away on Christmas Eve, followed by a trip to Kilmarnock just after Christmas. And Celtic have got 2 games in a row next, hosting Livingston and then St Johnstone, both those games between now and Christmas. So after a month off, it's back into the thick of things in the Scottish Premiership. Chance for Kennedy to try and attack down the right hand side for Aberdeen, and well muscled off the ball by Callum McGregor, who's been able to shepherd it out for a goal kick for Joe Hart.
Absolutely fantastic by McGregor. He's been out for a long time, but he's covering in those areas because Celtic fullbacks will fly forward, and he is the only one that will sit and cover when there is a break, and his covering there was absolutely fantastic. I thought it was second favourite, and he just muscled in front there and cruised away with the ball.
0-0, Celtic being held scoreless. We've reached the hour mark now. Celtic have got 28 away goals this season, 28 in their 8 away games, and if you go back in the long, proud history of Celtic Football Club, it's the most they've ever scored in their opening 8 away games of a season, but they can't get one here. And McGregor with another high and not so handsome effort, 10 yards outside the penalty area, skewed off his boot, and not just wide but well too high as well.
That is the one seriously negative thing about Celtic today. I mean, seriously negative. The shooting's been poor. I mean, really poor. And some of the stuff that's been flying, high, wide, and definitely not handsome, but by a long way.
It is. Such has been the poor shooting. It's like since we're all sort of in World Cup mode, thinking, but when they get the new ball for a World Cup, and the players complain in training that they can't keep it down, and the ball is too light. It's always got that feel about it.
Well, I mentioned earlier on that when we started the show, that this is quite often one of the bobblier pitches at this time of the year. We're up here, and I've not been on the pitch, but it doesn't look as if that is the problem, but it might be.
And Clarkson goes in late on Ralston. Referee's got to show a card. Now, Leighton Clarkson is appealing this, but he's going to go in the referee's book. I think there's no doubt he was trying to play the ball there. However, the referee has deemed it to be reckless with the foot high and into the body of the opponent.
Yeah, slightly harsh on Clarkson, I think. Definitely not deliberate there, and he's just trying to go for the ball.
Yeah, there's not been too many nasty challenges in the game as Barry down the right hand side pulls it back for O'Reilly. Matt O'Reilly, it's like a back pass. It's a shot that's so tame it's easily into the hands of Kelly Roos. I mean, he probably hoping that Kyogo might have got a flick on the end of it there, but very easy.
Well, you know
for
what
the
he's
Dutch
thinking?
keeper.
He's watching all his teammates lashing it and it's flying like 20 yards over the bar or 20 yards wide. You thought, well, okay, I'll concentrate and get it on target. But you're right, then it became a pass back more than anything else. You still need to put power on it if you're going to get past a goalkeeper as tall and as agile as Rush.
That booking for Leighton Clarkson, the first yellow card shown in the game. 5 Live on BBC Sounds, the Scottish Premiership, 0-0 between Aberdeen and Celtic. The first game for these two in 35 days, first competitive match. Aberdeen went to America during the World Cup break. They played against Atalanta, who they've got, I always mix up Atalanta and Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta United, because there is some connection between the owners of the clubs as far as I know. But this is back to the Scottish winter weather here, no warm weather.
Just for a moment there, my off he's getting on the shoulder. I can see, you just know what his game is. His game is simple: get on the shoulder of centre back and trying to make half a yard. He keeps on doing it. He never ever goes short. But that time he was very close to getting away.
Taylor chants up his right boot, his less favoured boot, and can't get past Anthony Stewart. The defender saving it in front of the goalkeeper and clearing the ball away. Celtic went on their travels as well. They went to Australia back end of November. Strong links there, of course, with the coach, Ange Postecoglou. And I'm sure there are many Celtic fans in Australia anyway, regardless of that. But they have possession inside the Aberdeen half, and this remains a stalemate at Vitodry. As you mentioned, Pat, Rangers fans will be listening in saying, yeah, this is good. This is good. Both teams dropping points would be very good news for them. Here's a chance to cross, though, for Ralston on the right-hand side. Loops it towards the back post. And it should be cleared away by Matty Kennedy, and he does do so. Accuracy of the shots, accuracy of the crossing, both could be dramatically improved for Celtic. Here's Jota. Sells a little dummy to shrug off Miovski. Ralston gives it to Abada, who's given real width on that right-hand side for Celtic in the second half. And played it back into the penalty area. Matt Riley wasn't able to control, and Aberdeen can clear away.
But you can see why Aberdeen don't lose many games, can't you? I mean, the organisation, the defence have been so well drilled. They just almost never lose their shape. I think they've lost their shape once in the game so far, and it led to that chance on the right hand side where Abada get in. But apart from that, really organised, really structured. They're not going to take too many chances. When they break, they'll maybe send 2 or 3 up, but no more than that. And it must be really infuriating for Celtic. And by the way, there's one I was thinking there, just watching Abada when he's going down the line there. He was so careful with his cross. I do wonder about the bobbly pitch. I do wonder, because I mentioned that even before the game started. As I say, it doesn't look it, but they're almost taking care of the way they're taking those shots now.
Yeah, no, there might be something in that, because it's gone beyond a coincidence now how many of those crosses have been overstruck and how many of those shots that have sailed over the top. On this cold day at Aberdeen, it remains scoreless for now, as Lil Abada, the half-time substitute, the Israeli international, comes down the right-hand side. He's done well here. It's pulled back to the edge of the box. McGregor infield to Taylor, who's seen so much of the ball. Familiar move, gets it back in his right boot, gives it to McGregor again, out to Anthony Ralston on the right-hand side. And they're patient here, Celtic. They are not just sending it into the penalty area for the sake of it. Jota involved again. Now the ball in, and Kyogo puts it wide. That's the chance they were waiting for. Flying acrobatic attempt, but he can't get it on target, and it remains 0-0.
Well, just like I mentioned before, if it's not happening the way you're trying to do it, it may well be the fullbacks. Break the line. That's exactly what they've done there, isn't it? He overlaps, and then they get to the byline. Now, when you get to the byline, it doesn't matter how many good players you've got back there. It's really difficult to defend that. And it went back to Kyogo. A little bit too much putting the ball there. I don't think he needed to ping that in towards Kyogo there. He did so. Kyogo couldn't get his feet right and couldn't get it on target.
Giakoumakis has been prepared for Celtic. Looks like Aberdeen might be about to make a change too. 0-0 it remains. There's only been one substitution in the game so far.
I thought it would have happened a wee bit earlier with Giakoumakis. I have to say, I'm slightly surprised it's taken this long.
Giakoumakis, who turned 28 earlier on this month, 12 goals in his last 9 starts, and overall he's got 20 goals in 22 starts for Celtic, but getting ready to come on as a substitute, and they need something here. Chance for O'Reilly down the right hand side again, pulls it back. Here's Taylor arriving like a train, and it's cleared off the line, was it? No, it just went wide. There's a defender on the line. I thought it might have come off Jack McKenzie. Referee says no, and that is a goal kick to Aberdeen. Another big chance for Celtic.
Yeah, but once again, it's exactly the same thing as before. You're getting to the byline now. You're getting an overlapping fullback. There's no answer to that because you've got all those players in the middle. You're going 2 for 2 at the back. That's what they've needed to do. They've lacked that. Ralston now twice in a row getting into that area, causing all sorts of problems, and it's nothing more than there wasn't a man on the spot to tap it in. Nothing more than that.
Right, here come the changes. So Jota is going to go off for Celtic. They haven't got the business out of him that they did in the first half, Celtic. Since Abada came on, it's all been down the right hand side, and Jota's good work hasn't been as effective. And
I think Yogo will come off as well just now, the looks of things.
So Turnbull and Giakoumakis. I think it's a triple change for Celtic, because James Forrest is going to come on too, and the Aberdeen player coming on is Johnny Hayes. So little break in play here, players coming across to take a drink. Jim Goodwin's having a word with a few of his players, Ramadani and Anthony Stewart. But this is an opportunity here for Aberdeen. They've worked so hard to get to this point. Over an hour played, and they have got Celtic at 0-0. There's a chance of a famous win here, and Aberdeen have got, the closing stages of this game is something now to really fight for.
Yeah,
by the way, it's Miofsky who's going off. Sorry, Pat.
Yeah, I'm not surprised it's Miofsky. He's had very little part in the game. He's run himself into the ground. He's had so few touches, and he ran himself into the ground just trying to get on the end of Anthony's foot over the top. He's not managed it, but I'll tell you one thing he has done. He's pushed those centre-backs, and he's tired those centre-backs a wee bit. So now that they made a change, and they've got Hayes coming on, Hayes is no slouch. So I've got an idea what they're going to do now. Use his pace to try and get over the top again.
Yeah, Johnny Hayes, former Celtic player, comes on against his old team. He won 6 trophies as a Celtic player in the past. As first attack down the right-hand side for Giakoumakis, who's just come on, and he's met by a very firm tackle. Young Jack McKenzie timed that perfectly, and he took the ball and he whipped it into the crowd, and a throw into Celtic has already been taken. So Turnbull is on in the midfield, Giakoumakis and Forrest too. Celtic looking to flex a bit of muscle here as Callum McGregor gives it short to Ralston. Now out to the right hand side, and Abada infield again. Ralston's patient on the edge of the penalty. Aberdeen are sitting so deep, but as it comes in again, Ross McCrory's able to win the header, and he hasn't fully cleared it out of the penalty area, but an attempted back heel from Conor Barron doesn't work either, and Aberdeen are relieved to hear the whistle, and there's been a foul and a free kick to Aberdeen and a chance for them to clear their lines.
And you notice how quick Celtic then start putting the ball in the box. They know they get Giakoumakis in there. They don't wait now. They don't play like 10 passes before they finally get it in, and the Aberdeen defence is set. They get it wide and just put it in there, because they know Giakoumakis is a player that will attack it in the air because of his physicality. So I think Stewart's done a great job so far, centre back for Aberdeen just now, along with McCrory and all his teammates there. But this is a different question again.
Brian Duncan being prepared to come on for Aberdeen. Teenager, he was Aberdeen's Development Player of the Year last season. 0-0 it remains at Pittodrie. Zabata comes down the right hand side with the thick black gloves on. Gives it to Matt O'Reilly, runs to the corner edge of the penalty area. Now Callum McGregor, no room though. Any of these Celtic players have got an opponent right in their faces. They get possession. Greg Taylor to the left hand side, and then that's not a great ball in from Forrest, and it's going to go out for a goal kick to Aberdeen, and their goalkeeper Kelly Roos away to our left hand side.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you almost think his feet are probably blocks of ice down there, because he's just come on, he's not touched the ball yet, and the ball comes to Mellor there, and it doesn't catch it at all. Forrest is a quality player, but not one of his best moments there.
Yeah, James Forrest too. In 2019 he scored against Aberdeen here at Pittodrie in both the league and the Scottish Cup. Celtic won both of those games. Duncan's about to come on here, and play's been held up, but there's a delay, and I think is it Clarkson who's going to come off to allow him on, and Clarkson is very slowly going to leave the field. He's taken off his shin pads and he's hobbling, and there definitely is a sense of a bit of time wasting here from young Leighton Clarkson. He'll get a warm round of applause. The 21-year-old who's played in all but 2 of Aberdeen's league games this season. He's got 4 goals so far as part of this loan spell from Liverpool. A man who did well on loan at Blackburn last season. He was born at Blackburn, actually. Season ticket holder there in the past, but he makes way, and on comes Ryan Duncan. Yet to start a game for Aberdeen. This is his 6th appearance as a sub.
You just wonder who will react best for the substitutions. I mean, Celtic, when they've generally made substitutions, this season, it's had a great effect on the team. They don't seem to lose any quality without it at all.
Celtic come again. Forrest trying to get in around the defender on the left-hand side. Matty Kennedy sticks to his task. Forrest has managed to pick his pocket, though, and then the pass is astray, and Ramadani's able to clear away. But up front of his own, Duke can't make it stick. He's looking isolated. Aberdeen so deep, have been from the get-go, allowing Celtic have the ball, but so far denying them a goal. This is McGregor, 15 yards outside the penalty area. Low to the feet of Forrest on the left-hand side. Back into McGregor with the yellow boots. He picks out O'Reilly, off balance as he tries to play in a shot, and it's too weak, and Jack McKenzie is able to clear the ball away. Celtic need a bit of inventiveness. This is Johnny Hayes. That's a great turn over the halfway line. First time he's been involved since coming on. Running at the Celtic defence, and just stopped by Starveld on the edge of the penalty area. That was a great burst from Hayes.
It was. He's come in with that liveliness, and he is a quick player. Good with the ball at his feet. He did have 5 hook jerseys ahead of him, right enough. It was him on his own, and I had a look at the defence just as he was breaking there. The 5-man defence of Aberdeen didn't budge.
Yeah, they know it's coming back soon. There's no point in going out too much. McGregor down the other end for Celtic. Ralston on his right-hand side. Abadas available to step into the penalty area now. It's on his left boot, but he doesn't fancy a shot there. McGregor keeps it moving. And Turnbull now gives it to the right-hand side. Back into the middle again. Taylor. He doesn't fancy the shot. Forrest, so intricate from Celtic as they tried to work their way through this very dense, thickly layered Aberdeen defence. Taylor's delivery in isn't bad at all, and there was a chance for Giakoumakis, and it ends up in the arms of the goalkeeper off Turnbull. Giakoumakis jumped, but he didn't get a clean header on it. That was the big chance. Turnbull's angle was too tight, and it was a comfortable save for the keeper.
Yeah, Giakoumakis didn't get enough power on it, but I wouldn't blame him. There wasn't enough power in the ball played in there. It was dinked. There was nothing that he could work with that, and I think it was actually halfway on the way down before he actually got his head onto it. But it's changed Celtic slightly, just a little adaptation. They're a wee bit more direct, getting in a little bit quicker than they were before. Having said that, I think Aberdeen's changes have lifted them as well.
By the way, All About Serena Wiegman goes out at 8 o'clock on Monday on 5 Live. It'll also be available as a special football daily on BBC Sounds that night as well. And we've also got the Live Golf Story, 9 p.m. on Monday, billions, birdies and bust-ups. A special programme looking at how the creation of the controversial Saudi-backed Live Golf series has divided the men's professional game. And that's 9 o'clock on Monday, and comes recommended. World Cup final tomorrow from 3 o'clock with correspondent John Murray in Qatar. Will it be Messi or Mbappe who celebrated the end of that one? Great story either way. I mean, 2 World Cups at the age of 23 for Mbappe, or become the coach for Messi. I mean, either way, that is blockbuster news.
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's one of those ones where there is a slight favourite maybe in France, but it's only slight, because when you watch Messi as he does the amazing thing of get younger as the tournament goes on, you just can't write him off.
I was watching that game, the semi-final, and I was thinking that wouldn't you love if Messi for the final came out clean shaven and he'd look so much younger, you just go, it's the old Messi back again. It's going to be intriguing tomorrow. France probably the better team, but the Messi factor for Argentina is huge. As Celtic tried to attack here, looking to break this deadlock at Pittodrie. Still 0-0 as we come into the closing stages of the game now. Just over 10 minutes to play. Taylor into the penalty area for Forrest. He hangs in a cross switch. Same old story today for Celtic. Too much on it. Goes through everyone, and eventually out for a throw-in front of the Celtic fans on the far side.
Now, I'm not saying Celtic aren't going to score, but it looks a wee bit less likely now. Maybe for the first half they had so much of the ball, there was real confidence, a zip about it. I believe they were just waiting for that Aberdeen mistake to happen. And it's as if they're looking and thinking, actually, they're not making many mistakes, if indeed any. I would say one mistake positionally Aberdeen have made so far in this game. Apart from that, they haven't budged. And Celtic had that little brief flurry, I would say just after half-time, particularly with Abada. Apart from that, Aberdeen are sitting there thinking, without being comfortable, we've done well.
Yeah, 2 gilt-edged chances in the game for Celtic. Both fell for Kyogo, and he couldn't finish either of them. On another day, they might be 2-0 up. We might be a very much different narrative of this Celtic performance, but you've got to take your chances. And Celtic, as efficient as they've been, as smooth as their passing has been, they've not been ruthless enough in front of goal so far, as they've run it out of play down the right-hand side here, much to the pleasure of the Aberdeen fans, who, a bit like you, I think, Pat, they don't want to count any chickens and they don't want to tempt fate, but they're beginning to think,
they're beginning to believe
get something out of this.
No, yeah, you're right, they're beginning to believe. But what they would like is the ball up the other end, just now and again, a little bit of respite for the defence. But I keep on looking along that Aberdeen defence. They look comfortable. I mean, your eyes always drawn to Stewart, who's a central figure. He's wearing number 5. He's a big personality. He's always talking to everybody around him. He's got them organised as much as Jim Goodwin, who wasn't a bad centre half himself, has got them organised from the sideline. And you know, there's just a wee belief. There may be some belief in the stands. There's a bit more belief in that pitch for Aberdeen players at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just watching Callum McGregor down there doing what captains always do in these circumstances, swirling both arms together, which I think is the sort of international thing for, come on, keep breathing, stay alive, don't slump here. We can still get this winner. As Aberdeen have a throw in down the right hand side. Aberdeen 0, Celtic 0, 5 Live and BBC Sounds. The Scottish Premiership, the return this week after the month's break for the World Cup. League Cup action comes back in this coming midweek. We'll have Manchester United against Burnley on Wednesday, Manchester City against Liverpool on Thursday. As Aberdeen come on the attack with Johnny Hayes down the left hand side, hangs in across, but Kyle Starfelt, all on his own on the edge of the 6-yard box, is able to clear it away. Hayes has given a little bit of something, a bit like what Albada did for Celtic. Hayes has given a little bit more thrust of a forward motion for Aberdeen since coming on.
Yeah, and I asked the questions of the Celtic defenders, particularly in the right back area, where they'll fly down that side. And whereas Celtic were beginning to get a little bit of, joy out of that right hand side, getting their full backs to the byline. Hayes coming on, that's beginning to stop Ralston going.
Kick off, we had bright sunshine. That sun has disappeared. Temperatures do feel to have dropped a little bit. Plenty of snow around the edges of the pitch. You can see it on the hill away to the left-hand side, but all green on the pitch as Cameron Carter-Vickers brings it back into Aberdeen territory once again. And Aberdeen's defence falls back into this well-drilled structure. They'll be so disappointed to concede late in this game, having defended so well. Can they hang on? This is McGregor, just outside the penalty area. Central location, gives it to the left-hand side to Greg Taylor. Back into McGregor once again. Fresh legs of Ryan Duncan being used to good effect here as he sprints across to cover both players. Now James Forrest, crossing position on the left, gives it in low to McGregor again. Everything's going through McGregor at the moment. Back to McGregor again, this time off Taylor. Turnbull tries to turn on the edge of the D. He's got support from O'Reilly. That's not a bad ball in at all, but it can't be kept down. Giakoumakis over the top.
Yeah, and he's gone down with a lot of injury, actually, Giakoumakis. Didn't seem to be anything wrong there. The ball was played in, he was able to attack it, but that's an option that Celtic have got now that they didn't have in the first half. But when they play that around the D, somebody eventually has to break a line at some point. Pass. Quite often somebody will switch off. These Aberdeen players ain't doing that, so you're going to have to try something else, and the something else is go beyond, and that's why Abada was important when he came on. The thing is, he stopped doing it, hasn't he? He stopped going by players in the last 10 or 15 minutes.
Anthony Stewart retreating under pressure from Giakoumakis, who seems to be running comfortably again, having been sort of his body language suggesting he had a problem a moment ago, but he ran fine there. It certainly appeared that Duke was being held up by Starfelt inside the centre circle, but
given the other way.
The referee didn't see it.
I think the assistant referee was giving it the other way.
Yeah. Jim Goodwin, who's only had one win as a manager against Celtic in the past, that was back in his St Mirren days, just less than 2 years ago, January 2021, St Mirren beat Celtic. That was St Mirren's first win at Celtic Park in over 30 years. Here it's 0-0 for the moment. Good header away by Anthony Stewart, who's been a real tower at the back for Aberdeen in this game so far. Abada tries to come down the right, and Coulson with a up and away just lashes the ball clear. And it was more up than away, actually. It's come straight back down, and Celtic remain in the attack. Turnbull tried to play it elegantly into the penalty area, but rallied to McCrory, who felt firm. Back to this pattern of Aberdeen just defending for their lives, no pretense of trying to hold it up in the midfield. They win the ball back, they hammer it away, and it's like hitting it off a wall. It just bounces straight back again from Celtic. Taylor's low ball into the penalty area, cut out by the busy Conor Barron. He's hesitated in clearing it away, and he's shown too much of it to Forrest. Good play from James Forrest. Celtic still on the attack. Turnbull into the penalty area, gives it into Abada. Good feet, this could be the chance. Saved by Kelly Roos. Shot was on target. He went high. Kelly Roos stretched and pushed it out for a corner, and Celtic have taken it immediately. That's one of the biggest chances of the game so far. Good save from the Dutch goalkeeper. Celtic have it on the edge of the box at McGregor. Plays the 1-2 with Turnbull. Over to the left-hand side to James Forrest. All hands on deck for Aberdeen. Forrest has a side of goal, drills it in, but Anthony Stewart blocks it with his right foot, and Aberdeen clear it away again.
Yeah, but Celtic have turned it up, haven't they? They've dialed it up now. They know they need to get this goal now, so they have lifted it much quicker passing, much more positive about everything they do now.
5 minutes to go. Clock is ticking. Forrest just outside the penalty area. Nice back heel. McGregor shot. Brilliant! Callum McGregor enlivens a 0-0 draw with a quite brilliant goal that might well prove to be the winner. The constant pressure finally pays off, and after an afternoon with some dreadful shooting, Callum McGregor finds his shooting boots, and that could hardly have been hit any better. Aberdeen 0, Celtic 1. Celtic set to restore their big lead at the top of the table tonight.
There's only about 4 minutes left there. They tried this so often, they constantly looking for half a yard, quarter a yard, anything at all. Aberdeen had done everything right the entirety of the time. Maybe the problem was McGregor was the only one who was sitting back. He's never walked up all the way through this half. He's let everyone else do it. And it's as if he said, right, okay, I'm a skipper, I better go and sort this out. He's finally got himself onto the edge of the box, and we're right behind it. And that was arrowed into the bottom corner. There is nothing the keeper could do. Brilliant goal and heartbreak for Aberdeen.
Celtic's 51st league goal of the season, just when we were beginning to think it might not arrive, but the constant pressure finally pays off, and Aberdeen will be heart-struck here because they have defended so well in the game. Ryan Duncan tried to resurrect a late attack here as Aberdeen tried to go in search of an equaliser. 88 minutes of the clock. Celtic needed that goal. It's relieved a whole hell of a lot of pressure for them. Anthony Stewart comes out. Well, Aberdeen have to go for it now. They have to make this adjustment from all-out defence. They've got to throw everything at trying to get an equaliser now. Should make it a lively close to the game. Careless pass to the midfield, but Barron keeps it alive. Laid back by Duncan. Here we go. Johnny Hayes on the left-hand side. Aberdeen have been awoken from their slumber by that goal. He's patient. Gives it to Coulson. Back in towards Hayes. Well tackled. Turnbull with the touch. Barron will pick it up for Aberdeen. He's right-footed ball into the centre. Starfelt was leaning on the defender, but it's all fair. And McGregor, the goal scorer, clears the ball away up to the halfway line.
Do you know, if you knew there was going to be a goal by Celtic, you wish it would have been 25 minutes ago? Yeah. And it would have opened up this game now, because Aberdeen have just been let loose. They've got, okay, then we're going to make a game of this. We're not just going to defend. And out they go, hammering, trying to get up the pitch.
The goal was timed as 86 minutes and 35 seconds. So in the 87th minute, Callum McGregor has managed to score the goal that gives Celtic the lead. And another of Celtic's World Cup players is about to come on, Aaron Moy, who made it through the group stage with Australia. In fact, 4 Celtic players in the World Cup, they all made it through the group stages into the knockout rounds. Juranovic with Croatia, who's still there, of course, playing today in the 3rd-4th game. Carter Vickers, who's on the field here. Maida, who started the match, and Aaron Moy with Australia, he was on here, and who's he replaced?
O'Reilly.
Matt O'Reilly. So the closing stages, it just feels there isn't enough time now. Aberdeen, who were banking on it remaining 0-0. Joe Hart has not had a save to make in the entire game. Celtic's 1 goal in front could be about to deliver the 3 points for them. We move into stoppages. 4 minutes to be added on. Well, Postecoglou will be pleased because he substitutes create. I mean, not that he'd changed the tactic, but they gave a new intensity, and ultimately Aberdeen weren't able to hold out amongst that.
That, and just about a minute before it, I said Celtic have lifted this. They've changed the pace. They're passing quicker. They've moved it quicker. They understand now. It shows you that there are gears there that they can go through, and they did start going through the gears there. But even so, they left it late. Not for the first time this season. It has to be said with Celtic. When they've needed to at the end of games, they've thought, right, okay, then we need to put everything into this. We need to ask a whole different load of questions, and they've been able to do it yet again.
Celtic's remarkable winning streak against Aberdeen is about to continue. This will become 19 wins in a row if it stays like this in all competitions. Celtic have never had 19 wins in a row against Aberdeen in the past. And it's the Celtic fans who are massively outnumbered here, but who are making all the noise of the moment. Housed away to the left-hand side, far side of the pitch from us, singing their songs, ready to take the icy road back down to Glasgow. But having restored that 9-point lead at the top of the table, and Michael Beale, who's come in as the new Rangers manager, given a good boost with that 3-2 win on Thursday against Hibs. But he has got to battle them in, regardless of how well he does between now and the end of the season. 9 points is a lot to try and make up.
And this will be a little bit of a dagger to the heart as well, wouldn't it? Thinking they could have got something back, and that they would think they can't start a charge, then there's the old final game coming up, in a few weeks, in a week or so's time. You think, could get closer. And then that goal right at the end, and as I say, not for the first time this season. Celtic left it late, but you just can't seem to write them off, especially if they've got most of the play anyway.
Here's Hayes. He might be the one spark. He's got Cameron Vickers between him and the penalty area. Vickers stands his ground well, waits for the cavalry to arrive, and Ralston is back to help, and Celtic are able to clear it away. Johnny Hayes is 36 next birthday, but he's shown real energy against his old club since coming on as a sub. He missed the last 6 games before the World Cup break due to injury, but he looks fully fit again. As McCrory tries to attack down the right-hand side and runs into Craig Taylor. Aberdeen are really going for it now. Wouldn't put it beyond Celtic to score a breakaway counter-attack goal such as the ambition now of Aberdeen. McCrory goes for the headlines from distance, but 7 or 8 yards outside the penalty area. It needed to be a great shot, and it wasn't too high.
You know why he went for it there, but for the first time since about the 3rd minute, they actually got about 4 or 5 players into the box there, and maybe they could have done a little bit better with that. Last throw of the dice, I think, for Aberdeen now.
Yeah, they take off the defender, Anthony Stewart, who's had a very good game. They bring on the forward, Shayden Morris. Morris, the former Fleetwood player, comes on for his 8th substitute appearance in the Scottish Premiership. He's yet to start the game, but last throw of the dice, throw on another forward and take off your main central defender.
Well, particularly as it's the back 5 anyway, so you can go to back 4. It's not going to complicate matters much. You do feel a wee bit sad for Stewart. There's a right good chance he'd have got man of the match had that late goal not been scored. And he'll probably turn around and give it to McGregor now, not just because he scored a goal, but he just keeps everything ticking, keeps everything moving. But really, if you look at the amount of play, the amount of time in the ball, Celtic deserve to win this game. But you do feel a little bit sorry for Aberdeen. The amount of effort they've put in has been incredible, and it looks like they'll get nothing out of it.
I think that's the upshot of this game. Aberdeen 0, Celtic 1, almost done and dusted. Is that Celtic have shown as great title-winning teams regularly do, that even when you're not playing your best, even when things aren't working out, you keep calm, you trust the system, you believe that if you keep plugging away it'll come, and ultimately it did in the 87th minute.
Yeah, well, it's drummed into them by the manager, and they don't panic, they don't launch it, they don't do any of that stuff. They just keep on doing what they do and hopefully keep on doing it better.
Forrest sprinting away down the left wing, tracked all the way by Jack McKenzie. Good tackle from him. Ball goes out for a corner to Celtic. Deep in stoppage time now. We're into the 4th minute. Over 4 to be added on.
That's great play by James Forrest there. He's come on, he doesn't get as many games these days. Those Celtic are basically coming down the wingers. They've got plenty of them, but when he comes on, he certainly gives it his best, and he's killed the game there, really, hasn't he? He's taken it down into the corner. He's managed to get a corner kick. Celtic will play it short, and that may well just about see out again.
Celtic fans are singing Christmas carols in the background. It's going to be a happy Christmas for Ange Postecoglou at his side. That 9-point lead at the top of the table restored as the full-time whistle blows. And Callum McGregor back in the team after injury, showing Celtic fans what they've been missing. A captain's performance throughout and a winning goal. A bit of quality that the game didn't always have, Pat Nevin, but he produced it when it really mattered.
Well, didn't have it, and particularly in terms of shooting, it wasn't the best. There was a couple of finishing chances that the Celtic had, particularly in the second half there. They played well, but nowhere near their best. But they kept on doing what they do, which is pass it, move it, wait for that moment. It might only be 1 or 2 moments a game, but when they come, you've got to take one of the few that turn up. And there was McGregor to turn up, and what a servant he's been to Celtic. But to step up there when everyone was lashing it into the stand, he eventually just gets one on target. Great goal and deserves a win.
It's now 15 wins out of 16 league games this season for Celtic. They continue to ride high at the top, and this record-breaking run over Aberdeen, 19 wins in a row now, first time they've ever done that. It's 9 league wins in a row for Ange Postecoglou, first time his team have done that under his charge. And Celtic riding high, but they ran this one close. The 87th minute winner. It's finished Aberdeen 0, Celtic